All right, Sunday. Welcome to True Story Live. Welcome. We're having a good day today. It is open topic night. That means that anybody in the chat room can bring up a subject and we'll talk about it. Everyone's in a good mood, I think. It's been a great weekend so far and a lot to talk about to get things started while we wait to see if people get into the chat room. So, first of all, I want to say hello to Journey's Wake, who was the first one in the chat room. I wish we had a parting gift for him, but we really don't have anything. Maybe I can scrounge something up for you, Journey's Wake, but welcome to the show. And he, being the first one in the chat room, his comment was, glad I got here before the rush. Certainly, you did get here. You were here before I was. Been kind of hectic today, so we just got in from Virginia. We went to pick up Glenn. When I say we, I say me. I went and picked up Glenn and Sandra from Jen's parents' house in Williamsburg. And they got, well, you know what, Glenn, why don't you just tell everyone from when you came. First of all, welcome, Glenn. And when you come on, just tell your part of the story of coming all the way from Australia and whatever detail you want to add just for the listeners. And see how that.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Yeah, we had to use up a few air miles, as you would call them, frequent flyer points. So we decided take a little trip and jumped on the plane in Australia, went to the Doha in the Middle East and jumped on another plane to Miami and then jumped on another plane a day later up to Richmond in Virginia. And then we were very graciously invited by Jen and Jen's parents to stay at their place for 3 nights. And Jen came and picked us up at the airport. And yeah, and all I can say is the hospitality from the USA is top notch.
Top notch, I would agree. So I came up afternoon before last, and I would agree with you that the hospitality was top notch. Excuse me, Jen, you have lovely parents. They were very accommodating, and I absolutely enjoyed the conversations. Very funny. Everything was awesome from your parents.
I second that. Your parents are absolutely lovely, Jen.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys.
Yep. Sandra was saying when we got into the hotel here in, where are we? Rock Hill. Yeah, she said, any of you guys that want to come out and stay with us, the door is open anytime.
Awesome.
The open door policy.
Open door. They're open and authentic.
That's it.
That's right.
Glenn, tell him what I showed up with at the airport.
Oh, yes. This very attractive woman with 2 roses in her mouth showed up, and I thought, who could that be? And then I thought, oh, okay, it's Jeno. But her eyesight's pretty poor, I've got to tell you. We walked straight past her. She didn't see us.
Well, technically, all she's seen is your picture in the chat room in here, in our control room.
That's true, but we did tell her.
I mean, you know.
But I think she was. But Jen driving out of the airport. Now that was another thing.
Oh, tell me about it. I didn't hear that story.
How do you get stuck at the ticket gates for about 25 minutes and nobody moves to get out of the car park? It wasn't your fault, but this would never happen in Australia. We're actually civilized there. We just drive through.
just drive through.
Nobody pays. No, that's not true. No, but yeah, honestly, it was absolutely delightful to be in Virginia and Williamsburg. I had no idea of the American history, but soon got on the page. It was really interesting. So yeah, all good.
Yeah. So when I came in, barely walked in the door, and then Jen's mom, Gail. And I call her Gail because she made it clear that that's what I should call her. I did check. I'm a very polite fella. So she wanted me to call her Gail. And I, like I said, I wasn't there 5 minutes, and we pulled out some games and started playing Skip-Bo. Anybody play Skip-Bo out there?
Me.
Yep. There you go. There's one person chiming in.
No, the only good thing about Skip-Bo is you play it once, you won't play it again.
Well, you played it almost twice. We almost got through it.
Yep.
I know, but I had to.
We play Skippo too.
There you go.
Oh,
Welcome,
Where
Steve.
Where'd he come from?
He's always been there, but he's just waiting for his turn to step in. I think that was perfect.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
his turn.
Yep. Also with us, we have Matthias. Let's hear from you, Matthias. How are you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing well. I was actually Googling what Skippo was.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it's a little card game. It's interesting. I don't know that I would compare it to anything. It's pretty fun. It took a little time to get used to it because Gail, despite her ability to cook awesome food and be really accommodating and friendly and funny and wonderful and intelligent, had a little bit of difficulty remembering the rules to the game. So we would start and she would add something else to say, well, you know, I forgot to tell you, you're supposed to do this, but we got it all figured out. Good stuff. All right. So, oh, go ahead, Jen.
No, I just said, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So then we ate some food. There was, oh my gosh, guys. So the food, lots of different stuff all the time. So crackers and cheese and grapes is kind of where we started. And then I probably couldn't name all the different options that were available. And so that was pretty sweet. It was a beautiful day too. It was really nice in Virginia, really nice up there. And just a very pleasant time. And then Al came home after work and he entertained everyone with stories, and his keen intellect and ability to keep the room entertained.
And deep.
Yeah, deep. He totally just a pleasant guy. So Jen, you have some lovely parents, and I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
Yeah. So then we left. What time did we leave, Glenn? About 2:00 today? 3?
About just after 2, I think.
Just after
Something
2.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about 5.5-hour drive. We only had to stop once to stretch our legs a little bit and use the restroom, and then dropped Glenn and Sandra off at the hotel after getting some food from Culver's. By the way, how'd you like your food from Culver's?
It was crap.
It was?
Yeah, it wasn't that flash. Okay, let me put it this way. If it's a competition between Chick-fil-A and, what was it, Culver's?
Culver's.
Chick-fil-A wins hands down.
What did you get?
From Chick-fil-A?
No, from Culver's.
It was North Atlantic cod, and Sandra got something that I don't know what it looked like.
You didn't like it either?
Beef or something. Pot roast or something.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was just really very McDonald's-like, I thought.
Wow.
But I'm not going to get sued for that, am I?
Well, no. They might block this episode. It's like, oh, they're mentioning Culver's. Oh, they said it was bad. Well,
you got to be honest, open and authentic.
So for the people that are from the Culver's management team, you know, Glenn and Sandra are a little finicky. Pretty much come to the States, aside from the hospitality of Jen's parents, everything here is horrible. Right?
Who on earth puts sugar in bread?
Okay, let's
makes it sweet.
Hey, this is open topic. Until someone in the chat room brings up a talk, we're just going to talk amongst ourselves. I did promise something about underwater cooking and paper mache jewelry, so there's some topics there to discuss.
Paper mache underwater jewelry or not?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, it's open topic.
So, Glenn, does Australia have Red Lobster?
No, we don't have that many lobsters. We export them all. Any good seafood is exported. So I go to Japan to eat our seafood.
Yeah, and Japan is superlative, isn't it, Glenn? When it comes to food and just about everything else.
I would
if
say,
he wants some good food, he should go to Red Lobster.
Are you a Red Lobster fan, Steve?
Yeah, but not for the lobster.
What do you have?
My wife is though. I get either steak there, or they have Cajun chicken Alfredo.
Oh,
Ooh.
I do like
Oh
me
my
some Alfredo
gosh.
sauce.
Oh my gosh. And you can get extra Cajun.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, I would be with the extra.
It's so good. It's
Well,
so good.
real quick, I want to welcome Sin City Preacher, Brother Luke, to the show. He's here. Becky K in Australia. Greetings to you as well. Glad you're here. I already said something to Journey's Wake. And also, I see in the chat room, let's see if there's anybody else. Mike W, buddy. What's up? Mike W. You know what? Here's another thing, too. If anyone wants to come on the panel tonight, it's Crazy Town episode tonight, guys. It's just absolutely crazy. We're slashing prices here at True Story Live. We're selling them. Everything must go.
Probably the chat box.
Yeah, right. All right, Mike W. Welcome to the show. Adopted son of heaven, welcome. First time here, welcome. You came on a day when some of us are a little punchy, just from all the traveling and the coming back and staying up late and all the chatting and talking and laughing that we did over at Jen's parents' house. And of course, I was a late arrival, so with Glenn and Sonder being there, they had a lot of time to do that, to laugh and enjoy themselves. And it was just wonderful. Hey, Mike, thanks for saying something back. So for those of you that are here in the chat room, if you have any topic that you would like us to discuss, it doesn't matter what it is tonight. We're just, like I said, it's open topic, and we're pretty much open to discuss everything. I was going to say, Adopted Son of Heaven, thank you. Welcome to the show. Normally, we have a more set time, but because we were all going out of town this week, we didn't plan a whole lot. So we wanted to leave it open a little bit, and so we can have some comments from everyone else. And that's what we're doing. So it's a little light so far, obviously, like I said. And Becky. Oh, she's still. So Becky got kicked off of Brother Luke's station. That's what she's talking about. So that's not really a topic conversation, I guess. Brian Brown, hello, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here. All right, where were we? What were we talking about? Oh, Steve, green jello, yes. Green jello is an important topic. You can mold it into 1/10 replicas of national monuments, or really anything you want. And
Yes.
we can. I even thought about starting a group. Like I don't know what you'd call it though. A group of people that make green jello replicas.
Green Jello support group.
Yes. So that would entail also talking about the fact that they are into making green jello replicas.
Did you say replicas?
Replicas, yeah, 1/10 replicas of national monuments.
Ah.
Okay.
And how long does it take them to actually make the replica? Because of how many times they have to start over because they couldn't not eat it.
You're doing a weird voice, Steve. What kind of voice is that?
I know. That's the voice of. I gotta have me some of that green jello.
What's that character in the Frankenstein movie? What was that? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the guy's name. But he played Igor.
Yes, that's what he sounds like.
That's what he sounds like Igor. Yes, master. That kind of sound.
Yes, master.
That's good.
That's perfect.
We need the green jello, master.
Oh my gosh. Steve, I think you missed your calling in life. I think your job is to do like audiobooks or something if the character you're playing is Igor.
Only if it's Igor.
Wow.
Just Igor.
Oh my gosh.
That's the only voice I can do.
Really? Is that right? Now you're kind of doing a
No, I didn't even know I was doing Igor until you told me.
Well, okay.
I guess I did miss my calling then, sir.
Jeez. All right. Discuss the bodily resurrection and where the spirit soul is until then, please. Yes. Okay. Since you're the first one to bring. Wait a minute. We are talking about the resurrection of new bodies. Brother Luke and us on the group joint session was a good topic. Okay. So, Brother Luke, you talked about bodily resurrection and where the spirit and soul is. Is that correct? Am I understanding that? Brother Luke, also, if you want to come on the panel, I'll send you a link. This is just kind of open top tonight, so you're more than welcome to come on if you want to. So just put in the chat room, Brother Luke, if you're around. I mean, I saw you earlier, so if you don't have to come on, but if you wanted to, you're always welcome. Matthias, you want to weigh in on this? I pretty much think you have this view covered, and I would like you to answer the Case Stover's question if you are up to it.
I am up to it. Let's see.
But
I don't know if he was. We'll see. I don't know if he was there today because I think I covered it pretty.
Oh, I got you. So he's wanting to cover the same topic that you already had a show about. See, I wasn't around, so.
Right. Well, I think that's what resurrect our new bodies. That was one of the questions that came around, like what happens to the Old Testament saints when they went to, if they went to heaven or hell. And so I talked about how my view on paradise, and I think it's been the same way from Adam and Eve all the way through Revelation. So
yeah, absolutely.
And explain the one-on-one and face-to-face with Jesus. So
it's a beautiful thing. I really look forward to that, being one-on-one with Jesus. And that's what we all, well, you know, I mean, not everyone, but me, for sure. And I'm sorry I missed that. I know we already discussed that before the show, but I was in the car. All right. Brother Luke, I'm sending you the link right now, so you will have it momentarily. And oops. There we go. Give me 1 second. There it is. All right. Ready. Sorry, guys. I was sending the link and then I can't bring my. There it is. Nope. There. Okay. Brother Luke says, Matthias, this is a different question that we had in the daily fellowship room. It's a different question that we have.
And I don't understand the question.
Okay, we'll wait for Brother Luke. When he comes on, he can answer that. Journey's Wake, submitting to authority. Is there a line authority should not cross? How will you know if you are submitted? And then he brings up Romans 13.
Anytime that the law supersedes God's law, they've overstepped the bound. Anytime the law agrees with God's law, they're good.
Anyone
I think
else?
it's also.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. I think it's also a matter of specific to the authority that we are submitting to. And I think the question also posed is, how do we know that if the authority itself has overstepped their boundaries? I think obviously what Matthias was saying is correct. If I can open it up, there's some specific wording in that passage that is kind of key. I think it's interesting, but
go ahead and look that up, and while you're doing that,
I am.
Okay, look it up. And then Brian Brown, I did see your question. Thanks, Case Stover. Yeah, so if you do have a question that you want me to see, please try to highlight it. So when I'm looking at the chat, then it's easier for me to see it. We are getting some topics in now. This is exactly what I was hoping for, guys. So thank you very much. We will get to all of them if you know any Welcome, Brother Luke. I'll be right with you, sir. Thanks for coming on. We do have a question for you, so sit tight for a minute. So we will get to your question after we finish this one, Brian Brown. Thank you so much. You've got a couple things on here, and we'll definitely get to yours. So just sit tight. Thanks for being here. Brother Luke, welcome to the show. Okay.
Hi.
Hey.
I was a little slow on the clicker there.
That's
and
okay.
I forgot. I almost pressed my camera for a second. I don't want to divulge my secret identity.
I know. Yeah. You're on and on about that. That's okay. It's like,
Matthias, the confusion is that the subject we were talking about on the Sunday program was a different question than they brought up in your chat just now. They were wanting to talk further, I guess, about the subject we were talking about privately, and I was talking about the position that the Seventh-day Adventist and the Jehovah's Witnesses have about the intermediate state, the unconscious state of the dead.
Right.
And given that's the subject we are on, so if someone dies right now, and between now and the promised bodily resurrection of the world, there's an intermediate period of time. And how do we exist in that time? And Brother Stephen was talking about maybe we jump forward into time, and there's just a leap forward into the future point of the resurrection. And and I was saying in Revelation, there's verses that say that there's a group of saints in heaven observing the earth, talking while we're waiting, while they were waiting for the end times to play out. So it seems that no, we do have some kind of conscious existence, but without a body until we get the resurrection. So that was the subject that was they were asking you to talk further about.
Okay, perfect. So then, Matthias, do you understand the question better now? And you can go ahead and be the first one to do it. Steve, I haven't forgotten about you, buddy.
Yeah. I think it kind of still goes with what I was speaking about earlier, because I think that when let's say a saint dies today, they're immediately with Jesus face to face. Their soul, the spirit goes back to God who gave it, and the flesh goes back into the dust that it came from. So that soul is it's our mind, our will, emotion. It's really the intricate parts of us. It is us.
Yeah.
And we will be without a body, until resurrection morning, till we go back and we'll be getting glorified bodies.
Yeah. So do you think there's an intermediate? You think there has to be some kind of vessel? Not our glorified bodies. I mean, we all agree that happens at the same time. Dead will be raised first and given their bodies, and then anyone that is alive and remains will be transformed. Correct. So when you think of spirit, what do you think, Matthias, as far as is there a temporary vessel that we're in, or are we just viscous vapor?
Well, okay, I think I get what you're saying. I think that there's definition to our soul.
Yeah.
The spirit is God's. That's the animated power, energy force that goes back to God, but still our defined soul.
Yep.
That's what will be. And I think in the sense of spiritual things, it's like solid. I think we'll be in our soul, our defined soul, and still be able to hug Jesus just the same.
I agree.
As if we were in something solid.
I agree, and I just wanted to make that clear for anyone that doesn't know about that, because it's not implying that you're like a ghost. I mean, ghosts don't exist, but like the world would think a ghost would be. I mean, you're not like Casper floating around with what, you know, you can't, I mean, where people can see through you and you can, you know, stuff like that. So, thanks for answering that, Matthias. We do have a couple questions to get to. So go ahead, Steve.
Okay. I think there in that particular passage, there's two key things that a lot of people that will abuse this passage about authority figures, and that, you know, because the first verse in Romans 13 is, you know, all power has been given and is given by God. But there's two key parts to this passage that state what the boundaries are for these people that have been ordained. One is in verse 3, the first part, for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. And then in verse 4, for he is a minister of God to thee for good. So if you have a ruler being a terror of to good works, to those who are doing good, being tyrannical to those that do good, that is not a power ordained by God.
Right.
So it's clearly stepped outside of the bounds of the authority given. So, and this type of ruler should also be a minister towards you for good, not for evil. So if they're stepping outside of those two things, you know, then they're not a power that's been ordained by God. And, you know, a lot of people like to use this and say, well, I'm your pastor, or I'm your mayor, or I'm your president, and all power has been ordained by God, so you must submit. And I guarantee you, the closer we get towards the end times, the more you're going to see this passage cut out and twisted and used against people that are biblically illiterate, and to try to say, well, God said I'm the authority, so he gave me the power, so you better submit.
Yeah.
And when you don't continue reading and, you know, take those kinds of things into context, then yeah, you'd have somebody abusing that power. And I think you can look at a lot of our leaders today and say, no, they are not operating under God ordained authority.
Oh, no.
It's the other entity ordained.
Right. Yeah. The leader of this world, you know,
exactly.
World. Yeah. Absolutely. Anyone else want to weigh in on that before we get to the next question? All right. Brother Luke, I saw your message. You're going back to the chat. No problem. If you want to just keep your thing in here, in case you want to weigh in, no problem whatsoever. All right. So the next question I saw that was, first, Mike W., I did see you said Lorne Cheney played Igor. I think that's correct. So thanks for the answer. I just didn't get back to you yet. And Becky K in Australia is saying that they heard a real demon this morning on a live stream. I'm not sure what it says. JWTV. It's a station of some sort. The sound went out and demon's voice said, "Can you hear me?" It was creepy. It's not really a question, but there you go. Brian Brown. Okay. Brian Brown says, I got a friend that's completely against the Bible, but he is willing to hear me out. Is there any actual evidence of the life of Jesus besides the Bible? Go, Matthias.
Well, there's tons of evidence of Jesus outside
down.
of the Bible.
Lay it down, buddy.
I mean, any historian who really looks into it can't deny there's more
We're trying to help.
evidence of Jesus than of a lot of the other books that people or characters in history, people that they don't question at all.
Right.
So, but the thing is outside of the Bible, any of that information none of it can save anybody, because only the Bible speaks 100% truth of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So while there's plenty of evidence that the man Jesus walked this earth,
Yeah.
nobody will ever come to the conclusion that he's God in the flesh and that he took upon the world's sins, and that's what he came here to do, save them which were lost, unless they get that information from God himself, and that usually comes through the word or preaching. That's about it.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in on that? Have a different answer? Well, okay.
I don't have a different answer other than just to say if someone really wants to research those kinds of things. I put it in the chat that there's a really good book that would uh, give some avenues to look into. The Case for Christ
Oh,
by Lee Strobel, who did exactly that. And he was an atheist and set out to, through basically, he was a uh, legal person,
lawyer?
like well, not kind of like a lawyer, but something like that, to basically go and as if he was the prosecution and Jesus was the defendant, and um, basically go through that kind of a style to ascertain whether or not the proofs are enough proof to prove the existence that Jesus not only existed but is who he says he was.
Right.
So, and he went and did those things, and so it's kind of a highlight of what all the different people he talked to, all the different resources he used, etc. And so if someone is looking for more information, this is like a Cliff Notes kind of version
Mm-hmm.
of what all he actually did.
Yeah, and it's tons of
And
research.
in that yeah, and
Yeah.
in that he can, if you read that book, it'll point you to several areas from historical content, biblical content, theologians, etc., that a person could dive down to find more proofs.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Because it looked like he was really asking for help with that one. Of course, all of us here, mainly all of us here, know that you can, learn more about Jesus in the Bible than anywhere else, and that's where we should be getting the information. But if he's got a friend that's willing to hear about it and wants to know the Bible, but he's looking for proof outside of it, the book that Steve's talking about is very helpful because of all the research that was done, and that's the whole purpose of that book. So, Brian, check that out. The Case for Christ, Lee Strobel, right? Is that right, Steve? Lee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lee Strobel. He's done a couple other works as well.
Yeah.
But
He's
that
written
was
a
his
few books.
first one. And what's awesome about it, and one of the reasons I specifically suggested it, is because of the fact that Lee Strobel was an atheist prior to doing this work,
Oh,
and
yeah.
didn't think, he thought he would be able to disprove it all.
Yeah.
And come to find out, he ended up becoming saved himself because he went and looked
Well, they
at
made a
all of
movie out of it,
the.
too.
Oh yeah, there's a
Yeah.
movie. There's a case for God.
Yeah.
There's a couple other different books, but that particular one, by the time he sat down to write it, he was saved
Mm-hmm.
because he was, as Matthias would say, he was fully persuaded.
Fully persuaded, absolutely, and that's what we all strive for, right? Not in our own power, but
By the evidence that he came across.
by the evidence. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's the first book of its kind that I've ever seen, where someone did made a journey like that. And he did. It wasn't just a little bit of research. He went and interviewed, theologians and scholars and all kinds of stuff. I mean, he really talked to a lot of people. It wasn't just going down to a local church and having a conversation and then walking away and deciding that.
Right. And he did his homework prior to these interviews, and he came like armed with secular and atheistic points of view to counter what they were saying. And at the end of every single interview, he was like, what they're saying has so much more weight, has so much more validity than what these other theorists are saying. And they actually had weight and proof behind their claims instead of intellectual ideologies that they're just, trying to create out of their mind.
Yeah.
They really have no backbone and proof behind, or their proof was so inconsequential or, placed on green jello.
Yeah.
That it was so wobbly and so shaky that it wasn't, it didn't have any real good foundation. Whereas, every time, he would ask these theologians, well, no, that's not accurate to historical, accounts for what they are talking about, and then would be able to list A, B, C, D, E, F, G as to why those things were wrong that the other people were saying.
Yeah.
And it was like off the top of their head, they're doing this.
Right.
So he was obviously blown away by it, but he still came at him like as if he was a prosecuting attorney, with question after question after question.
Yeah.
But he listened. He didn't just hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is fascinating.
2 episodes ago.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Brian,
had to throw that in.
no doubt. Brian Brown said thank you. He did get that information, so that's awesome. Okay, guys, keep them coming. We're trying to talk about topics that you guys want to. They've got some stuff going on in the chat room, some kind of TV sitcom. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. That they're all choosing roles for a show. Welcome, Aaron Benton. Welcome to the show tonight. We appreciate you coming by. And a couple other people, Kelly and Dean. Kelly, I didn't take your wrench away. I don't know why it would have disappeared. I have not done anything to those, but I sent it again just in case it's some kind of glitch or something. But I wouldn't take your wrench away, so you should have that back. Check, and if it's not on there, let me tell you, or let me know. Also, welcome to the show, Alex. I see you, brother. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Always welcome your support. Always. So thank you. So other people lost their wrenches too. If you lost your wrench, I mean, I'll look more into it, but let me know if that happened, because Mike W has his wrench.
I don't know if I had a wrench.
You didn't have a wrench?
I don't know if I ever had a wrench on your channel.
Oh, do you want one?
Sure.
Okay.
Ruh-roh.
I'll be glad to give you one.
Somebody wanted me to do that. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, probably Mike W. He's always
yeah.
voices. Mike W says his wrench is Excalibur.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So from the panel then, does anyone have any topics that you would like to discuss? Just jump in anytime if you have something that is on your mind that you would like to discuss, and we'll give people a chance to come up with some more questions. What about Jason? What cartoon character should Jason be? I don't know. You'd have to decide that. I don't know. I remember Scooby-Doo though. That was when I was a kid growing up. That was the show to watch. Is that still on? I mean, obviously Casey Kasem, he did some of the voices on that show. He died, passed away. Sometimes they do remakes of cartoons, and they're usually not as good as the original. Thing about Scooby-Doo is my dad hated that show. So when I was a kid, every time it came on, he was like, "You're not watching that crap." He'd turn it off. So I always tried to sneak to watch it. Yeah. Scooby-Doo is not usually a topic we have on the show, but it is open.
I'll be that
Puppy.
dad.
Cupcake Puppy is actually in the chat room. So welcome, Cupcake Puppy. Maybe you've forgiven me for whatever thing that you think I did. Cupcake Puppy was mad at me, and nobody knows why. Aaron Benton, I hope all is well. Yes, Aaron Benton, all is well. I am fantastic.
I think Cupcake Puppy thought you were mad at Cupcake Puppy.
I've never been mad at Cupcake Puppy. All I know is that I always defended her, and I said nobody puts Cupcake Puppy in a corner, and I thought we were friends. And then all of a sudden, she's saying stuff on other on Matthias's channel sometimes, and saying weird stuff, and I'm like, what's going on with this? And I tried to talk to her about it.
Yeah, Cupcake Puppy is just a jokester.
Yeah. Well, I get that, but I mean, it's just dragging it out awfully long. That's the thing that I started to think that she wasn't joking, because it just kept going on and on. I was like, most people, they're joking around, they'll do it a couple times on a show, and then that's it. Adopted son of heaven says Cupcake is a troll. I don't know that she's a troll. Johnny Quest, Alex, I do have a story. So Johnny Quest, there's a Super 8 video of me learning how to walk, and on one of those big old box TVs they used to have is Johnny Quest in the background. So I was learning how to walk literally when Johnny Quest was a cartoon on TV, and my dad recorded it. He also recorded the moon landing, and I was in a little bassinet. It was a black and white, and I was sitting there while they pretended to land on the moon. So that was pretty cool. I used to think that was pretty awesome that my dad took some Super 8 video of me when I was a couple months old, born in April, so it was only a couple months. And in the background, there they are, landing on the moon. And then it took me 46 years to realize that it was all made up. So that's good stuff. Becky K from Australia says Jesus is God. Read 1 Timothy 3:16. God manifest in the flesh. Steve, you want to look that up? 1 Timothy 3:16.
Sure.
Perfect. Bat Dad. I don't know what's Bat.
1 Timothy 3:16. Is it 3:16?
Yeah, so guys, this show is going to be pretty random. So, like I said, normally we have things all planned out and well ahead of time. So, and also Glenn won't be here. They're going on a cruise. Glenn, tell everyone where you're going, what your plans are. Glenn, are you still there, buddy? Okay, he might have stepped away. I still see him in there, but okay.
I'm here.
There you are.
Yeah.
Tell everyone about your cruise.
Going to the Carabino.
Yeah. Do it all in your new accent that you've been working on. That'd be interesting.
That's embarrassing. To the Carabino, the Southern Carabino from Fort Lauderdale. on the Holland America Cruise Line.
Wow.
Yeah, but we only got the cheap cabin down in the bilge room.
Yeah, I've been to the bilge room.
Yeah. They said, give me the cheapest cabin you got. They said, There ain't no cheap cabins.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going down there for 11 nights, and that means that Sandra, as you know, has got a lot of problems. She can have a rest, and I don't have to do any housework, which is a bonus.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, yes, she has some things that she's plagued by, unfortunately, but she is absolutely delightful. Sandra is.
Agreed.
She is just a wonderful person, very sharp, and sometimes she just sits and listens, and then when she says something, it's usually spot on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she knows lots like trivia and stuff.
Yeah, she would have come on the show, but she's absolutely stuffed, and she's asleep.
Oh, I understand. Listen, for her to have to be in the car for that long after all the excitement of the past couple of days, I certainly understand.
She was hurting bad.
Yeah, but she's a trooper, man. I saw her squirming around in the chair, but she did so good. I thought.
Yeah, she doesn't complain. That's for sure.
Yeah,
when she's got good reason to complain, but somehow I don't know how she just takes it.
yeah, that's the amazing thing because there certainly are enough people out there that have something like that happen to them, and they just don't seem to be handling it that well. So to see her have to struggle with all the physical limitations that she has, I think it's fantastic. That
she's a beautiful woman and a fantastic wife.
Yeah, and incredibly intelligent too. I mean, you
Very
guys both,
much so.
obviously, but just I love that you guys get along the way that you do, and just a pleasure to be around, honestly.
Yeah, I know. It was fascinating to have the chats. We actually got into some great chats at Jen's place, Jen's mum and dad's place, I thought, and some real, what should you say, almost epiphany type stuff today, which was amazing.
Yeah. When I showed up, I even made the joke. I said, "This is True Story Live." And that's what it was. So the three of us. I mean, obviously, we didn't have Matthias and Steve and you guys with us, and unfortunate, but so some of the conversations, some of them were just real, fun and stuff like that. But then we got into some deep stuff, man, and it was fantastic, really.
Very amazingly respectful, I thought, but also so honest. Like, I was just so impressed, honest, really, truthfully. It was just like amazement to just see, particularly Jen and her mum connect the way they did. It was real tearjerker stuff for me. I was feeling pretty emotional about it, but I thought it was absolute magic and special.
Yeah, me too. I mean, some of the breakthroughs that we were able to witness, like right in front of us, were just mind-boggling. And yeah, I think you should always be emotional when you see people realizing something and being open and honest and authentic enough to share it, even though it might be difficult. I mean, that's the whole purpose. Well, one of the many purposes of the show is trying to find that ourselves and being open and authentic and modeling that for others too. It's really a lifestyle choice, really, to be in that place, to be open and authentic.
I agree. And it's if you can do it, it's a very low stress environment.
Yeah. All right, Steve, did you pull that up? You want to read it real quick?
Sure. I can do that.
Okay, so you're reading 1 Timothy 3:16.
Yes, I am. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory.
Yeah. There you go.
Woohoo.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah.
Right. Kay Stover says, is it true there's many scriptures that speak against false teachers, doctrines, deceptions, and that many of the proofs for legalism are applied against it and those that teach it? Is it true that there's many scriptures that speak against false teachers, doctrines, deceptions, and that many of the proofs for legalism are applied against it, and those that teach it. Matthias, you want to weigh in on that, my friend? Did you understand the question?
No, I didn't really.
That's okay. So he's asking, is it true that there's many scriptures that speak against false teachers, doctrines, and deceptions? That's the first part of the question. We know the answer, but
Yes.
Is that all you want to say? Okay.
Well, I mean,
I could say something.
That's I guess. I mean, that's the question. Of course. I mean, it talks about it a bunch.
You're being weird.
Am I supposed to give a bunch of examples of it? Maybe.
Steve. Well, let Steve's ready to go. Steve.
I'm trying to get to it.
Okay, get to it. Okay.
Well, what I will say is Renee Roland just did a video on this within the last week.
Oh.
And she pulled up several scriptures that are often used by the Lordship salvationists to show that we're supposed to do works, when in fact those very verses say the opposite and point to false teachers and point directly to them as false teachers, and one of them is in Matthew 7.
Right. Read that one.
Where
you got it pulled up?
Okay.
All right.
I'm almost there. But if you look in Renee's on her channel, you'll see within the last week, you'll see in the picture there's like a black wolf in there.
Oh, cool.
So
go over to Renee Roland's channel.
If I can,
Kay Stover.
If I can find it, I would post it, but I can't because unless you gave me wrench.
Oh, I'll give you wrench, no problem. All right, well, you got to save
that
room for me to give it to you. Oh, there you are.
Right.
Never mind, I see you. No problem. I'll take care of that while you're doing that. There you go.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. Here we go. Yeah. Matthew 7, verse 15 to 23. Beware of false prophets. There's a verse specifically to that, but I'll read it all. Which come to you in sheep's clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to look righteous. They're going to act righteous. They're going to talk righteous. But inwardly, they are ravening wolves. You're not going to see this wolfishness on the outside.
Right.
It's going to be hidden.
Yeah.
By subtlety.
Yeah. And sometimes pretty deep subtlety, actually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ye shall know them by their fruits. So that verse is not pertaining to believers.
Right.
That verse is pertaining to false prophets.
Yeah.
How many times have we heard a pastor or preacher say, you'll know them by their fruits? And so you need to show your fruits to show that you're not a false prophet or you're a believer.
Right.
They twist it.
Sure they do.
That verse is not about that.
No.
And what I loved about what Renee said is you'll see the speech, or you'll see they may have the most upright character looking on the outside and how they talk, but eventually their speech and what they're saying will not be from the fruit of the Holy Spirit. And that's the key. Are they twisting scripture? Are they twisting the gospel? And another verse right in that particular part, verse 21, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven.
Right.
But he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have cast out devils? And in thy name done many marvelous works? And it's like that verse skips right over their head when they go, well, in the next verse, it says, ye that work iniquity.
Mm-hmm.
He says, depart from me, ye that work iniquity.
Yes.
He never knew them.
Yep.
Well, not only did he never know them, but the fact that they were still workers of iniquity while they're bragging about the good works they did.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole.
And
yep.
Exactly. So it's like these people that say, you know, your works should show your salvation. No. These people that Jesus is condemning are counting on their good works.
That's right. Because the bottom line is, if you're a believer, when you stand before God, of course, Matthias makes very clear, and I completely agree that we don't stand at the same judgment. But anyway, just for the sake of argument, so when you stand before God, you're not going. A true believer in Christ is not going to say, "Look at all the works I did." He's gonna say, thank you, God, for what Jesus did. And then so that's a completely different situation. So right in the passage that you just read, Steve, I mean, they're saying, look at all the stuff I did. I mean, that attitude in and of itself, points the way that it's not a believer. In order to be a believer, you're resting in the finished work of Jesus on the cross, and you have his imputed righteousness. Right? Matthias?
Indeed.
Yes. Thanks, Steve. I wanted Matthias to weigh in. Matthias, are you really playing Candy Crush? Is that what's happening?
No. No.
I couldn't imagine you playing Candy Crush, actually. I mean, not that you're not a fun-loving guy, but Candy Crush, though? I mean, if you were going to play a computer game, would that be it?
Right. No, I don't play games like I used to.
No. What game did you used to play? If you remember the last game that you played on the computer when you played games, what would Matthias play?
Crap. Farmville?
Farmville. That's it. So that's the one where you pester your Facebook friends to send you stuff, right?
Right. I think that was the last one that I got sucked into. The main one that was
time ago.
Right. The reason why is because it was the first real-time game I think I played where you start a crop and it'll harvest in like 8 hours, but it'll die in 10 hours. So you got to get there between 8 and 10 hours and do your harvest.
Yeah, it's another way to just keep people coming back to play a game for sure. And then you have to buy all those games now, it's like you have to pay for energy to play the game. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to put free games on there, make them free. Don't say they're free and then, you can only play 5 times and then you have to wait until your energy builds up again. Is that what Farmville was like?
Right. That's what it was like.
Okay.
I know people who actually would allot funds each week to buy things in those games.
Oh gosh. Actually. Gosh, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, do you wanna weigh in on what we're talking about?
Well, mainly the thing like that they said, Lord, haven't we prophesied in thy name, and haven't we cast out devils in thy name, and haven't we done many wonderful works? Well, that's what they were trying to place as the reason why they were going to heaven, and that in of itself was the work of iniquity.
Right.
The fact that they were trying to use these as either front-loading works and saying that's what got them saved, or back-loading works and saying that's the evidence of them being saved. It still has the focus on themselves, which makes them the worker of iniquity.
Got it. Thank you. See, now you're paying attention, Matthias. I don't know what happened to you there for a second, buddy.
I just put that link in there for...
I'm just joking, Matthias. I'm just playing Candy Crush.
I
They're
just
having-
put the link in there for that video.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
Yep,
So,
yep.
yep, I see it on there. So, if anyone wants to go watch Renee's video on that subject, definitely go out there and check it out. We haven't had her on the show yet. I would definitely like to. Oh, is she here? No. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, she's here.
Renee, this is open topic. Do you want to come on the show? Or just be in the chat room? It's cool, whatever you want to do. Let me know. What video? Steve, Renee's asking which video that you put the link to.
Oh, that's your video on the verses about false teachers,
Yeah,
false prophets that you did this past week.
there you go. That answers that question.
Yipper. I can send her the link
Yeah.
if
Well, she
you
knows.
want.
She knows her own thing, right? Oh, send her.
Okay.
Well, don't put. Oh, how are you going to do that?
I have a separate contact.
Yeah, send her the link. If you've got it. That would save me.
Okay.
time.
I'll send it to you in Hangouts if you want to join up, Renee.
It's up to her. You can come on if you want. It's just open top. We're just having fun tonight. Nothing too heavy yet. So, hi Renee. Probably talk to you in a little bit if you decide to come on. I was on Brother Luke's channel this past Wednesday. Church of the Eternally Secure on Wednesday night. Steve, she said, send the link. Cool. It was awesome. Great study. And then Brother Luke called me and asked me if I wanted to would be willing to be a part regular on the Wednesday show. And I agreed to do that. So aside from being on Talking Doctrine occasionally and having this show, I will now also be helping out on Wednesdays with Church Eternally Secure on Brother Luke's channel. So tune into that on Wednesday. We had a really great time. It was the first time that Renee and I were actually on a show together. I'd actually kind of been close to being on. I think I was on one time, but I don't know.
I did just send it.
Okay, you just said it. Hey, Brenda.
So check your Hangouts.
Check your Hangouts, Renee. Brenda just came in. Brenda, how are you? We're doing open topic tonight. We're just having kind of a fun time. So we're glad that you're here. For those of you that don't know, Brenda used to be part of True Story Live, and then she had some family stuff, and she's taken a lot of time off, so that's okay. Glad you're in the chat room, though. That's awesome. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope everything's all right. Ready. All right, Brother Luke, I see you, but are you come out? You had anything you want to add?
I thought I'd put my camera on so you'd know that I'm back with you. I had to step away for a while to do some things, but I'm back in case you want my thoughts on anything, okay?
Okay, thanks, Brother Luke. Appreciate you. I just talked about that I would be coming on to help you on Wednesdays with the Church of the Eternally Secure.
Good. Hey, did you look over the material I sent you yet?
No, I haven't, but I will. I will before the show. I was, in case you didn't hear the beginning of the show, I was in Virginia and had a pretty busy couple days, so I have not been home on my computer. I've been hanging out with awesome people in Virginia.
All right, then.
We went to Jen's parents' house, and Glenn and Sandra flew in from Australia. For those of you that already heard this, I apologize, but they flew in, and then I went and picked them up and brought them back here to Fort Mill and took them over to get something to eat, and then to the hotel. And then I rushed back here and sent the link about 20 minutes to 9, and still kind of discombobulated, but we got it all covered out.
Discombobulated.
Discombobulated. Yeah, that's a word.
What part of Virginia were you in?
Williamsburg.
Hello.
Hey, Renee.
Is that near Suffolk?
Yes, it's about 45 minutes away from me.
40. You're only 45
really?
minutes from Williamsburg?
Yep. One of my
Thank you.
viewers lives in Williamsburg. He comes to visit me in my church sometimes.
Yeah.
What church do you go to?
Just a little independent fundamental Baptist.
Nice.
That sounds good.
There's only like 40 of us.
Where are you, Renee?
We used to be in a hotel room. Do you know we're like about 10 miles away from the Carolina line, about 45 minutes away from the beach, Virginia Beach?
What
So-
town?
Inland. Suffolk.
Yes. We say Suffolk.
I was just gonna say, how far away from Suffolk were y'all?
Okay, thank
Yeah, I'm in Suffolk.
I was asking. Well, I was just in Suffolk, like twice this
Say
week.
that. Well, you got to tell me that.
Yeah.
It totally blew my mind. I was also because Jason was saying that they were just down near there, so I might have passed by him on the highway.
I live on 58.
You live
Oh.
on 58?
I
Are you
live on
serious?
8, yes.
Do you know where the
No.
Target DC is? Off of
Yes, I'm right
58?
down the street from that. I'm
Oh
like
my
5
God!
miles down. If you're
I've
going,
been there twice.
if you're at the Target and you're facing not east but west towards like Emporia, if you go to west,
Routes familiar, so like
yeah, it's on
I
58.
come down 460 to 58.
Yep,
So
go 50.
back towards 460
Nope, the other way.
or away from
Yeah,
460.
Target will be on your right.
Oh, okay.
If you
'Cause
keep
when I
going,
come down, the Target's on my left.
and then you see a duck through. It's like a little gas station. I know, Jim. It's just a few of my friends. Oh. If you keep going that way, it's right on the right side.
Oh, Renee, you said you're your
Oh
friend.
my goodness! I've passed by you twice.
I know.
had to have.
I know.
Dang.
You have to
So
come.
if I was at the pilot, I could be like, "Hey, I'm at the pilot.
Yep.
Come see me."
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that
Chances
little
are I'm
truck?
probably going to be going down there a lot. The way it seems
Talking
like.
about
'cause
that truck stop that's like diagonally across from the 7-Eleven.
There's a pilot right across the street from the Target DC.
Okay.
From the big distribution center.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
Hey.
I was there. I've been there twice this week.
You gotta let me know. You got my phone number?
I know it. Yeah, I got your number.
There you go. Bringing
Cool.
people together on
Sweet.
True Story Live.
That's
Yay.
awesome, Jason. Who else is here?
We got Glenn from Australia, but he's with me in Fort Mill. He and his wife are visiting. He'll be here for a couple days. So Brenda asked the question, did we meet? Yes. So Glenn and Sandra and I went to Jen's parents' house, and I only stayed one night, and then we came back the next day, but Glenn stayed for a couple days. Glenn and Sandra did.
That is awesome.
So, yeah, and I want to talk about this for a second. So the cool thing is everybody talks about meeting in person. And that's not the first time I met people online, but it is the first time that anyone on True Story Live has met in person. I've not yet met Brenda in person, and she came on the show with me when I started. And of course, I did meet Glenn 20 years ago when he came to the States, and that's when I knew him back in the day. What's that?
I said that's fantastic. I had another viewer up in Pennsylvania come visit my church too.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I think people should do it. I mean, especially in here. Yeah, I would meet anybody in here that wanted to meet. You know, if I was ever in your area, Renee, I would definitely like to come visit you. So next time I'm in Williamsburg, then I will come check you out. You know,
Okay.
It's only 45 minutes away.
I used to get all paranoid because I have those stalkers that really hate me. But at this point, they've put all of my private information up. There's no reason to even freak out. They already know.
Okay.
She paid people to get background checks on me.
They did. Why are they so obsessed with you, Renee?
I don't know.
What's the deal?
I think there's a spirit of some kind of personal hatred. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a personal. hate. It's not the message, or they wouldn't just pick me to fuss. I mean, the whole Karen Reed's entire Google page is me.
Oh yeah, I looked at that.
We're all a bunch of atoms, and one day we'll die. The end.
Thank you very much. See, so positive. That's why I love him.
Oh my gosh. Let me clear up something real quick. So Aaron Benton's in the chat room, and I guess maybe he has apparently a different belief of any kind.
Yeah, and then, I love him. I don't know why. I don't know what he's doing with the verses I keep giving him about it. Jesus being here before the world was, being with the Father before the world was, that he created, and not just that Alpha and Omega verse he uses to say it's the Father, but the other Alpha and Omega verse that says, I was dead and alive forevermore. I am the first and the last, the Alpha and Omega. So you can't say that's the Father. That's Jesus.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. So where's the point of contention there? He
says that Jesus is just created, and he uses just the humanity verses. Well, his humanity had a beginning, but he himself, God's a spirit. He pre-existed. Yeah. And God came. He's Emmanuel, God with us. Yeah. He's the bread that came down from heaven. Mm-hmm. He had glory with the Father before the world was, before Abraham was. I am. He showed up and ate with Abraham in the Old Testament. Abraham saw my day and rejoiced. They can kind of twist those to work, but you can't twist clear ones that say he made everything.
That's a good point. You can't. Yeah, if it's that clear, you can't twist it. It's right there for you. Yeah.
For example,
go ahead, Steve.
Let me just read one of my favorite passages on this wonderful day we have here today.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's the best day ever.
Story behind this passage too. Oh yes, it's the best day ever because we are alive and breathing, and hopefully all of us are able to. Hopefully we're all able to at least walk under our own power, breathe under our own power, and able to eat without help.
Mm-hmm.
So anything, you start from that small little bit, and you just, you find all the little things that you can be grateful for every day. And that can give you perspective.
Amen.
For all the stuff that could be bad. So Colossians 1.
Knock
15.
It out, Steve. Yep.
This is well. Let me go with start at verse 12.
Okay.
Giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him.
Yeah.
And he is before all things, and by him all things consist.
Yes.
Or held together, if you don't know what consist means. Held together. And by him all things are held together.
They have
he is the head of the body.
Yep.
The church. Yep. Who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him, Christ, should all fullness dwell. And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him, I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about this one, Stephen? How about this one?
Knock it out, Renee.
Hebrews 1:8. But unto the Son he saith, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. Unto the Son, unto the Son he saith, thy throne, O God. That's the Son being called God. Let's not forget Thomas, my Lord and my God. No Jew would have bowed down to a man that was God. That would not happen.
Nope.
You can't get clear than that. Thy throne unto the Son, he saith thy throne, O God. And besides that, he clearly says, Father, restore to me the glory I had with you before the world was.
There it is. Brother Luke?
Well, let's not forget that the most important portion of Scripture is about the deity of Christ is the first few verses in John chapter 1. But there's one portion of it that is kind of overlooked. And the Scripture that Steve pointed out, saying he's the firstborn over all creation, they will use that to try to say, well, see, God created Jesus, and then Jesus created everything else. But in John chapter 1, if you listen to this, you'll see that that's not the case. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. That should tell us that if Jesus was made, it's impossible that Jesus was made, because it says all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So if something was made, it was made by Jesus. The Father did not make Jesus in order to make everything else. So verse 3 destroys that argument that Jesus is just simply the first one created, and
right.
The Father used Jesus to create everything else.
Yeah, he was fashioned as a man. God, the bread that came down from heaven, came in the form of a man, which had a beginning. The humanity had a beginning, but he himself did not. And see, the thing is they want to deny that God is three persons. And so they can't say that he was with the Father. And Jesus sat down at the right hand of the Father, not himself. He can't sit down next to himself. These three bear witness in heaven.
Right.
And the thing is I know it's one God, but it's called the Godhead. Yeah. And I don't understand it fully in my little limited human mind, but I know that it's three. And even the early rabbis knew that there was God, and then there was one that had the word in him, or my name is in him, or the capital A, angel of the Lord. They knew that there was more than one. He said, let us make man in our image. And it says, Hear, O Israel, your God is one. The Hebrew word is united. Your God is united. And so why would God have to say, Hear, O Israel, your God is one? Why didn't he just say there's only one God and I'm it? No, he doesn't. He said, Hear, O Israel, your God is one. He wouldn't need to say we're one if there was only one.
Wow.
Let me say that
they deny the Trinity. I don't fight too much.
I think the easiest thing in the whole Bible to prove is the deity of Christ. I have two playlists on this subject. One is titled The Deity of Christ Proven, and the other one is The Identity of Jesus. And altogether, there's probably 15 or 20 hours of proof, of verse after verse after verse, showing you exactly who Jesus is. So if anybody has any doubts at all, go there and you'll be overwhelmed with a mountain of evidence to show that Jesus is eternal God Almighty.
I'm not trying to be silly, but maybe I don't understand what Aaron's thing is. I mean, like what is he failing to see?
He says he's the Son of God, but he's not God himself.
How is that even possible?
He said, does God have a king? He can't. Okay, well, let me answer that. God the Father gave Jesus a kingship. He's not God the Father's king. He is king. God the Father gave him a kingdom. You can read that in the book of Daniel when he says, one like unto the Son of Man on the clouds of heaven. And that's in the Old Testament. Jesus was seen on the clouds of heaven. And then God gives him a scepter, a kingdom that is everlasting. Remember?
Yeah.
So God the Father gives God the Son an everlasting kingdom. So he's saying, well, God doesn't have a king.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's the carnal thinking. It's the time space thinking, being limited to time space, and also the denial of God, the Godhead being three persons.
Yeah. Aaron wants.
We see all three at the baptism, don't we?
Yeah.
All three are there.
Did I say one thing before you
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Luke.
Everybody has their own program, and everybody is entitled to conduct the program however they want. For me, I always follow Jesus' instructions that don't cast your pearls before swine. And what is a swine? It's someone who doesn't have ears to hear. And just in the last 5 minutes, this is a little group and a little time we put in here, we've already given a half dozen or more clear verses that doesn't say Jesus is the Son of God, just a created Son of God, but he's God himself. And you have to ignore all those verses and go like this to not accept it and understand it. So whether it's this particular person or anybody else, when they prove to me that they're not going to listen, then I'm all for talking to the broad general audience about the deity of Christ. But being concerned about this individual, I say dust off our feet and move on and just identify this person as swine, as Jesus told us to do. We need to discern and recognize who will listen and who won't.
Right. Well,
okay. It's sad because I care. I care for him, and I've known him as a brother for 2 years. And it's
okay. So this has been someone you've already had lengthy conversations with him. I mean, this isn't just.
We had one live stream that Matthias asked me to come on. I had no idea that Aaron had started like 2 days before. He had been convinced that Jesus.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, yeah.
I was really devastated by hearing it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I remember now. He was wanting to come on the show, and I was like, "What's the big deal here?" And then, yeah, I remember this. So he Matthias, he'd been on Talking Doctrine before, and then he changed his stance. Right. Basically, that's kind of what happened.
Right. Yeah, he was agreeing with Jesus being God for the first several months that I knew him, and then he flipped script. And so I asked to talk to him one-on-one, and there's a 3-hour conversation, and made it clear exactly where he's at, and he's tripping over the fact of all the verses where it talks about Jesus is the Son of Man.
Yeah.
And he's not understanding that, yes, he was 100% human, but he was also 100% God.
He had to be the second Adam. He had to be the second Adam. So God came as the second Adam.
Right. And they knew.
Muslims trip up on this. So do Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if they go to the Old Testament and see that it was the Son of David, I mean, think of all the people who were going, "Oh, Son of David." They understood that he was 100% human, 100% God, because the Son of David was Emmanuel with us.
Jesus gave the Pharisees a dichotomy. Do you remember? He said, "Hey, whose son is the Christ? Oh, he's the son of David. Okay, then why does David call him his Lord?" Do you remember? He's like, their heads are like going to explode because he's like, okay, if he's the son of David, how does David call him Lord? Why? Because he's explaining to him, because the Christ pre-existed and he is above him because he was before him. Even though he manifested in David's lineage, Christ existed before David. That's why he is his Lord and yet also his son in a weird way. And so he was trying to show them a mystery, and it's the same mystery that these people need to see.
Yeah.
That yes, he is the son of David, but David says, the Lord says to my Lord. This is the Old Testament now. This is what David is saying about Jesus before Jesus manifested as a man.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord said to my Lord, sit down at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. And so that was the revelation. Hey, he's both God and man. Get your minds wrapped around that, because you're trying to limit him to say that he's only David's son, but he's also David's Lord. How's that possible? And then John the Baptist said, he is preferred before me. He comes after me, for he was before me. pre-existed before, but yet didn't come in the flesh until after John, because John was 6 months older.
Right. Yeah.
The mystery.
Yeah, something I want to clear up real quick, because I've never seen so much in our chat room, at least. I just haven't seen people going back and forth. But Becky K from Australia really wants Aaron to come on the panel. I don't know why she feels so strongly about this. I think you guys have pretty much covered his views. So I don't know. We welcome all views on the channel, but one of the things that was said was we have an atheist on the panel, so why aren't we? I thought everyone was welcome. Yeah, let me explain something real quick. I've known Glenn for a long time, and he never causes any problems. He only helps everyone on this panel and personally as friends. He's more than just an atheist. In fact, I don't even classify him as an atheist. So there's definitely a distinction. I don't know Aaron very well, but 3 other people on the panel already understand. Aaron, I don't have any problem with you. I'm confused as to why you would change your stance on it when all these verses are so clear. Glenn is just quiet. Yeah, he's been quiet right now because we're talking about other stuff. He just will weigh in on anything yet.
It's not that and honestly, I really am coming from a place of love. I care for this person.
Oh, no doubt.
It makes me really sad to have another Jesus, and somebody through some kind of very good wisdom of words has decided to not take the full counsel of God, but presented this to people in a way that would convince them that Jesus did not pre-exist and was not. I mean, I don't know how you can just ignore all of the clear verses about him pre-existing and creating all things and being with the Father before the world began, before, and he's all in the Old Testament, and that he's man and God. I don't know how. I mean, I keep giving the verses like the ones you gave, and that fantastic one, Stephen, and the great one from you, Luke. How do they just ignore these?
Yeah, that's the thing. Anyone's welcome on. We're very inclusive. That's part of the point of the show. But we don't want to have people come on the panel when 3 other people have tried to show him, and then enough scripture verses have been read tonight about this subject that are very clear to me. I don't think that there's a point to have any continued dialogue about it this time.
Brother, let me say something.
He wanted to give his point of view. Maybe we're presenting it wrong, but he admits he's the Son of God. But I don't think I'm presenting it wrong, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, I have no problem with it. Is he a jerk? I mean,
no, he's not a jerk.
He's not. I don't think he's a jerk, and I don't think we are misrepresenting him at all, because unless he's changed his story since the last time, we all had this particular chat. But if you want to bring him on, I'm cool with it. Like you said, we should be bringing on anybody as long as it's not going to be disruptive or, divisive or hateful. We're going to treat each other with respect. I don't have a problem with it necessarily, but I also at the same time understand what Jason is saying. This is this, unless there's been a change unless there's been a change in view, or understanding by Aaron, this would be just going around the circle again, and all we would be doing is having is just rehashing the same argument, and I don't know how beneficial that would be to our listeners.
Well, for tonight, it's not beneficial because I just wanted it to be kind of a fun night. I didn't want everyone's shackles to be up. I mean, one of the things is Becky Cake in Australia. She's a friend of the show. She comes in all the time, has a great time, and now she's upset and wants to leave because we won't bring Aaron on. I mean, I don't understand what all this is about, or why Becky wants Aaron to come on, and other people want him to come on too. So
I'm sorry if I stirred the pot. I'm sorry about that.
No, Renee, I'm not. You're not blamed for that. I mean, they were doing that in the chat room. Had nothing to do with you.
Brother Cripps, let me say something, and then
Yes, sir.
I'll probably just excuse myself after I make this point here. But
Okay.
The idea of the Son of God not being God is absurd. I made this point to a Muslim once, and I said to him, I said, "Do you have a son?" And the Muslim man said, "Yes, of course. I have a son." I said, "Well, okay, then let me ask you: Are you a human being?" And he said, "Yes, of course I'm a human being." Well, let me ask you: Is your son a human being? Yes, of course. Of course. Is your son any less human than you? No, he's my son. So I said, if God is God and God has a son, the Son of God has to be equally God, just like my son has to be equally human. That's one point. But let me also say this: that I have a playlist titled "Early Christian Creeds," and I go over the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, the Revised Nicene Creed, and the Athanasian Creed. And throughout the first few centuries of church history, it was common for the leaders of the church around the world would get together. It was called an ecumenical council. They would come from all parts of the world and come together and have a meeting to discuss. In this case, the first few centuries, the discussion was entirely about the Godhead. Every one of these creeds is clarifying the Godhead. The supreme final conclusion. Each council produced a creed, and each creed added to the previous one until they finally got it defined so perfectly. And it's the Athanasian Creed. So I suggest anybody read the Athanasian Creed, but here's just a point, a little bit of it. It says the Athanasian Creed recognized this doctrine and affirmed its importance. That the doctrine is that the hypostatic union, and that is that Jesus, the most basic explanation for the hypostatic union is Jesus Christ being both God and man. He is both perfectly divine and perfectly human. And it says, stating that, quote, he is God from the essence of the Father, begotten before time, and he is human from the essence of his mother, born in time, completely God, completely human, with a rational soul and human flesh, equal to the Father as regards to divinity, less than the Father as regards to humanity. Although he is God and human, yet Christ is not two, but one. He is one, however, but not his divinity being turned into flesh, but by God's taking humanity to himself. He is one, certainly not by the blending of his essence, but by the unity of his person. For just as one human is both rational soul and flesh, so too the one Christ is both God and human. It took about 3 centuries and about 4 ecumenical councils for the leaders of the early church to try to put into words Godhead. And Renee said earlier, she believes in the triunity of God. Trying to explain it, well, that's what they struggled with for the first several hundred years, and they finally formulated into these creeds, and the creeds beautifully. Each creed building on the previous one, and until if you really study the Athanasian Creed, you'll see it covers every base, every possible thing. Even when it says here, he is one, however, not by his. Well, they're saying that he's one, even though he's divine and he's human. He's still, that's not 2 people. Otherwise, you'd have 4 in the Godhead instead of 3. That's good. Yeah. So every little possible scenario they debated and hashed out to try to put into words what we understand is the triunity of the Godhead. So that's where I suggest anybody go.
We wouldn't understand heavenly things because we don't even understand the earthly things, he says. Yeah. But the Catholics do the same thing when they mix it up and say they mix the carnal humanity with the eternal God part of him, because they say Mary's the mother of God. She's not the mother of God. She's the mother of the man, Jesus. God created her. Jesus created her, but she's the vessel that God came through as a man. So she's the mother of the man Jesus, but she's not the mother of God, because they're mixing up the. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
like David's the father of Jesus Christ, but he's Jesus is David's creator.
Yeah.
Although, so it's kind of a dichotomy that's, you know, I guess it's spiritually discerned. And the Catholics or the early church wasn't wrong on everything. Just because they said it, you have to go against scripture. You have to check what scripture says.
Okay.
Yeah, they the first few centuries, they dramatically moved away from the gospel, the grace of God, and added, you know, communion and baptism as requirements for salvation. But the one thing that I actually say the church fathers actually did well was these councils to define the Godhead. And this little part I read is just a little portion of the Athanasian Creed. It's much, much longer. And so it's really fascinating when I did a study of it just line by line. So if you want to watch that, you can get my understanding of every single point of it.
Yeah, go over to Brother Luke. Go over to Brother Luke's channel and definitely check that out. And also, Steve posted Aaron's viewpoint in the chat room. So if you want to know what Aaron believes, then go over there. I think he took off anyway. So I think we spent enough time on this particular subject. We were having fun until all this stuff started. I mean, everyone seemed to enjoy our open topic. That's what it's supposed to be. So those of you that are still left in the chat room, we still have time left. So if you want to talk about any subject, and it doesn't have to be serious, please put something in the chat room and we will discuss it. Does anyone have on the anyone on the panel have anything fun they want to talk about? This is the whole purpose of the show.
How about those that say they don't reject the gospel, they reject the free greasy grace? But it says the gospel is the gospel of the grace of God. How about those that say that? You know, you hear people say, I don't reject the gospel. I reject that free grace message.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good topic. I know Brother Luke doesn't like the term greasy grace, do you, Brother Luke?
The terms that are insulting to the gospel and insulting to Jesus, somebody was talking about, I think in an earlier discussion, maybe it was the private chat we were having, a private fellowship. At some point, somebody used the word Jesus like, oh my God, oh no, I remember Matthias corrected someone because they put in the chat, oh my God, and Matthias was bothered by that. And I agree. Yeah. I don't like it when people do not revere everything about Jesus and the gospel, and when they slander it by saying it's easy believism or greasy grace. I find that very offensive. I consider that it's no less than spitting on Jesus on the cross.
Yeah, it is, Luke, because they're saying it was cheap, that Jesus's life wasn't enough payment, that our works are worth more than his work and his suffering on the cross. They're saying what he didn't do, just believing what he did is cheap grace. Why is it cheap? Because you didn't do anything to earn it. But we know if it's of works, it can't be grace. And when they're really saying, Luke, is that they deny the gospel. They are gospel rejectors. I marvel you're so soon removed from he who called you unto the grace of Christ unto another gospel. So what is the gospel? The grace of Christ. He said, preaching the gospel of the grace of God, being justified freely by his grace. We have, by the redemption that's in Christ. So what they're saying is they don't believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You know, Bob Wilkins' organization, Grace Evangelical Society, I think it's about 2 years ago, they did an article and they coined a phrase talking about this very thing, the cheap grace. And they said, no, what they are actually doing is they're applying cheap law. They're watering down the law. So if they think that we're cheap grace, then we need to say, no, what you're really doing is you're making the law, diluting it down so much. You're doing the opposite. Jesus ratcheted down the law and tightened it and said, well, it's not only committing a sin, it's even thinking about a sin. So you need to understand how strict my judgment is. And these guys, they try to, they make it cheap law. But another YouTuber, Jackson, Mecha Wing Zero, he called it. And he took easy believism and changed it into easy legalism. So see, we can flip it around and play with the language like they can too, to show that their point of view is absurd. They have easy legalism. In other words, they make the law so easy to follow that they can act like they're really righteous and following the law so well.
Right. I told you guys before, there's a funny story about a Muslim who said, I believe both. I believe Jesus now and I believe Muhammad. Why? He said, just in case. Okay, no, you don't. Just like the other guy, when I talked to him, we know who he is, the Hebrew rooter. But I said, you just don't believe, because you're saying you got to still obey the Torah, which you don't do. You do not obey it. I'm sorry, you don't. You just don't. And plus, if you're trying to be justified by the law, Christ is of no effect to you. And I said, so you're really not believing on Christ? And he goes, well, I have to keep it just in case. So it tells me they're
Just
not
in case.
They're not convinced of God's promises, because faith is to be convinced that what God promised, He's able to perform.
Yeah.
And they don't believe. It's like they don't believe people.
I got you. All right,
I have a great way to look at this. Okay. All right. So I love bacon.
I do too. Big fan of bacon.
Bacon is greasy.
Greasy bacon.
So I'll take that greasy grace, because I know it's good grace.
There you go. It's
Anything
delicious grace.
That's greasy like bacon is good.
Do it in the Igor voice, though.
Because they can't hold on to it.
Steve, do it in the Igor voice.
I don't remember how.
Oh, come on. Come on, Steve. We need to lighten things up a little bit after all that craziness.
I'm trying to lighten it up, okay?
Yeah. You're doing a good job.
Now,
you sound like Renfield.
What's interesting to note?
Renfield, yes. That's right. Igor
What's
Renfield,
interesting to note about this is that the word Christian that we call ourselves used to be originally an insult.
Yes, that's true.
To those of us that are believers.
Yeah, Christians.
Okay. So, I don't care what they insult me with. They can call it greasy grace. They can call it whatever they want.
Hyper grace.
He's a Hungarian evangelist.
That's right. Almost a little Mexican.
I know it's good because bacon.
Because
bacon.
There you go.
Because
you did it.
Good.
It's like my son says, because reasons.
Because reasons.
Yeah, because of reasons.
Right.
Yeah. All right, we do have a subject. Let me find it from someone in the chat room. That's what we were trying to do, is get people to.
I saw one in there.
Yeah, it just came up. Is it the gun thing?
Yeah, the gun thing.
I'm trying to find it. There it is. Should laws that restrict access to guns be abandoned? That's the question. Should laws that restrict access to guns be abandoned? Anyone want to weigh in on that?
Criminals never keep the laws anyway. The only people who affect are the people that keep the law to begin with.
That's right.
More restrictions don't do anything except make it harder for the people that keep the laws to get the guns. And because the criminals that are going to use them, it doesn't matter at all.
That's right. Matthias?
Yep. Not only that.
Any law that tries to supersede the Constitution is not a law anyways, and should be eradicated from paper, and I'll just leave it at that. But anything that goes against the Constitution shouldn't even be followed.
I agree with that, Matthias. And by the way, let's apply spiritual to this. Strength of sin is the law. If you want sin to grow, throw some law on top of it.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's so true. It's so true, though. Like, you tell the kid, don't take a cookie. What do? Take a cookie. They had no awareness of the cookie until you said, don't take the cookie.
That's right.
Then, now all of a sudden,
Yep.
They want the cookie
You got it.
because you said they couldn't have it.
Yeah,
That's right. They did an
Until
experiment.
then, yep.
that's in their nature.
Exactly
It's in our
like
nature.
what Paul said. Until the law came, I didn't know
Yep.
of sin.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So, another fun fact on this particular topic:
There you go.
knives kill. Knives. Well, no, knives don't kill, but those who have been murdered by knives is like 80% more. I don't know the exact statistics, but you can look this up. So knives have killed more people than guns every year, ever. Like it's like 80% more. So let's say you have 500 people that have been killed by guns. You'd have like 10, 15, 20,000 killed by that were killed with a knife. So it's, if laws were ever going to work and work for something, we should be outlawing knives.
Yeah.
And fists and
outlaw fists
and fingers.
No.
Look what happened to alcohol, Stephen.
And
Yeah.
strings and rope.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I know. Look what happened to alcohol. Yeah.
yeah. So what Renee's referring to is they made alcohol illegal. Renee, go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, when they made alcohol illegal, they had this one woman, and she would go around to the bars and speakeasies and destroy their stuff with axe and preach at them and stuff. Well, the underground moonshine people became so wealthy, and it just raised the price of the alcohol, and the people just went crazy. They had to get their hands on alcohol. But now that it's freely given, people don't even want it. It's like the law has never, what does the Bible say? The law was not made for the righteous, but for the sinner, right? So the law was made because we already know that certain people are going to break those laws. And so we have a law in place to punish those that will break it. But the law is never given for the righteous because they do what's in their heart because God has already given them the freedom. But you put law on anything and it strengthens sin. He was right about the cookie. They did an experiment at a birthday party with children and told them they could go anywhere on their yard, no problem. Well, there's one area they weren't allowed to step in. Nobody stepped in it when they were allowed to go anywhere they wanted. But the minute they told them this little section of the yard you cannot touch, every single one of them on hidden camera went over there and put their foot right on the spot they were
There you go.
allowed to touch.
Yep. It's in their nature.
Yep.
Hey,
So,
how
based
about
on our evidence here, should we abandon gun laws?
There's no point to them because only the law-keeping people are going to even keep them.
Well, and they
So
won't.
I think we should if we abandon all gun laws and say it's always still been illegal to murder.
Yes.
There you go. That clears the whole thing
What else
up.
do you need?
Or what about what Chris Rock said? Make the bullets $500 a piece. Then you'll think about before you shoot somebody. Dang, is he worth that $500? Is he worth $500, man? Make the bullets expensive.
Yeah, make the
great.
bullets expensive.
I like it's a funny idea, but I would even be against making the bullets expensive.
It is funny though.
It is funny,
Yeah.
but I mean the Second Amendment is there for a reason.
Yeah, it's there to protect
Our
us from government because
mess us up. Our
that's
government can't force us out of our rights.
that's right.
Well, they didn't give us our rights either,
Yeah, God,
and that's
God,
the main
yeah.
point. A lot of people think we're democracy. We've been changed supposedly into one, but they like proudly, we're democracy. We're spreading democracy
We're a
across the
republic.
rest. Exactly.
I
And
want to
most
ask.
people don't know what a republic even is.
I want to ask Glenn. Glenn, what are the gun laws like in Australia, my friend? Tell us a little about what it's like over there.
The gun laws are extremely strict. Concealed firearms are banned, and you have to have a license for a rifle, which is usually farmers or registered gun club members.
Yeah.
I can't comment on what goes on in the US, but in Australia, you could basically say it's diametrically opposite to what goes on there.
Yeah. So people still find ways to murder there, right? In Australia?
They do, but I
Yeah.
mean, the murder rate with weapons compared with the US per capita is way low.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm not arguing that point.
Because there's a lot, like you look at it, there's a lot of people killed via accidents, and
Yeah.
you know, but by people not even putting the guns in the cabinet or leaving them loaded or doing something stupid like. But so we just don't have them.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, the boys used to bring their shotguns to school and put them in the locker and go hunting after class.
Okay, Renee, you just brought up a point. Now, see, my dad told stories about that when he was a kid. I mean, every year that's what they did. They lined them up against the wall till school was over, and then as soon as the bell rang, then they went and grabbed the guns and went hunting. No big deal. Nobody ever got shot.
That's because the fall of the family unit in this country, the fall of godly living, the mocking of the good traditional family unit, what is good and decent, the rebellion against authority, where kids have no respect for teachers. I mean, you see kids cussing their teachers out, hitting them, all kinds of stuff now. You got policemen at every high school with metal detectors, treating these kids as criminals, and they're going to certainly respond as criminals when they're treated that way. And there's no, I think this has to do with the lack of fathers in the household, the lack of men teaching their sons how to be men. There's too many women like me raising men without a man's help. And
that's a good topic, Renee.
That's a big problem. And I have a lot of girlfriends over here in the ghetto. Every one of them got 4 kids. None of the dads are helping. And it's hard. They try, but it's like there's no male role model to show them a work ethic, how to treat women, how to be responsible, how to deal with anger, what makes them a man. And so now they got this machismo idea from Hollywood movies that if you're a badass, excuse my French, badass and you're toting a gun, you get revenge. That's a man. Nobody disrespects me. No, a man has self-control.
Yeah.
But, nobody teaches these boys how to be men.
Boys in the hood.
Teaches. That's right. Nobody teaches. And I really think it's the decline of the family value in this country.
That's intentional, Renee. They're trying to do that with all this other crap that they're doing out there with the mix up about genders and having all these different things and laws to break up the family. I mean,
and the gay thing, the transgender thing, that is not genetic. If it was genetic, because homosexuals breed less often, it would eventually diminish. There'd be less, but it's actually increased exponentially. So it isn't genetic. They've shown it is through culture, a lot of trauma, the absence of a father or an abusive one that is present. There's all kinds of social things that contribute to it. I'm not an anti-gay person. Sin is sin, and I love them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they lie to you though and say that this is a genetic thing that you're born with, and it's not. There's studies, but you won't see these studies. I think Johns Hopkins did one that showed what they all had in common were these social factors and these traumatic factors that occurred. And if it were genetic, again, because they reproduce less frequently, the gene would eventually die down. It wouldn't be growing. And I think this transgender thing, people want it to be cool. They want to be different. And you have these parents taking 4-year-olds and saying, well, my son's my little boy used to walk around in my high heels. Why? Because mommy wore him. I didn't freak out and go, oh, my son is expressing he wants to be a woman. No, I said, you're copying mommy because you love mommy. And that's okay. And so he ran it through a system and it was done. But they are out there with their liberal agenda, forcing their 4-year-old kids to identify as another thing. And that's your truth, sweetheart. That's who you, well, I identify as a helicopter. So I just decided that I need to have my hair spin around and somebody needs to make an ornament that does that for me because I think I'm an helicopter. I mean, it's
And
just
you need to have, you know, guns and tomahawk missile shoots
yes,
surgically implanted into your body,
yes, I do.
and rotator blades put into your head so that you can
Yep.
fly.
Yeah.
And yeah,
There's a
so
gentleman coming against.
I don't know if it's genetic or not. I will say this, that I'll leave a small percentage room, but I do agree with the science that you're saying. However, I would say, however, that it is possible simply because of the fall
Yes, I agree
and
with
what
that.
sin did to genetics in general.
I
So
agree
our
with that.
genetics are imperfect.
I
Yeah.
agree
So the
with that.
fall very well could
I,
have brought this into the world.
I
Secondly,
myself
on that,
disagree with God
well,
creating anybody in an unnatural way, but I do agree that it's because of the fall that they've been tricked, brainwashed, programmed
Oh yes.
to think like, but to be unnatural, it's not like a retardation.
Right.
It really is choice, and I think it's spiritual.
Yeah.
I think that that it's especially when you look at scripture. Every time a good king came in, he got rid of the high places and
Yep.
the sodomites out of the land.
That's right. That's a good point.
And
And
I
so-
want to
Others-
say that God's grace saved them too. I'm sick of people saying they can't be saved. So I just want to come.
amen.
I
I
agree.
agree.
Yeah.
we'll
I
be
agree
rebuking
completely. I did want to
reprobators.
say one other thing on that. I also think that we're seeing this possibly even more and more because of what um, the lovely scientists who are in charge of a lot of the food distribution and things and all the different chemicals
Oh
and
yeah,
hormones that are put into
estrogen
our
on
food.
That's
the
true.
I
toys.
think
I think on the
that
toys.
also,
They put estrogen
I
on the
mean,
boys' toys and testosterone on the girls' toys.
That's true.
Yeah.
well, not only that, but just in the food in general. I
In the
mean,
food.
if the parents are eating
That's
this
the
stuff
hormones.
and then
That's
they're
the hormones, right? Yeah.
Hormones.
right, and then they're eating this food, and then you've had this go on for 50 to 100 years, and we're
Oh,
seeing
stop
this
there, Steve.
influx
One
of all
second.
this happen. Well, okay.
Well, it ties in. So, Journey's Wake said in the chat, breaking the family started after World War II. So, say again what you just said
I was okay.
about the
So
timing.
like 50 to 100 years is, roughly probably more closer to 100 years, but
100
is
years.
roughly the time frame in which they started introducing all these hormones. And you have so you have a couple 2-3 generations of families that have gone from, like what Renee was saying, but also that, but you're having, mom and dad procreating while eating these hormones. So you have this going on for year after year after year, and then you have, the next generation produces a slightly more stunted generation from these hormones, and then it goes on and on and on. Like our scale, a lot. If you look at girls and boys now compared to girls and boys 100 years ago, the skeletal structure itself has even changed somewhat from where it's from where it was and supposed to be, because the width of a man's shoulders, you're supposed to be able to fit 3 adult male heads side by side on your shoulders, and no more than 2.5 adult female heads on their shoulders, side by side. So there's a skeletal structure different, and that is changing to where you have boys with that narrower skeletal structure and girls with a wider skeletal structure.
That's crazy.
So yeah, and this is all from all these hormones, and it's even affecting our pets and other non mammals, but even amphibians are being affected by these hormones that are processed off the, from what we eat to what they eat after we have eaten it.
So would that be considered a type of pharmakia that
I would think,
yeah, absolutely.
I would think so. So does that mean it's genetics, or does that mean it's been we've been biologically altered?
Yeah,
Or could it be a combination of of fallen sin state genetics plus manipulation of biology,
here's the
all master plan by Satan to
when
destroy?
when you make it just a biological issue, then you make it a civil rights issue. Like I'm born with lighter
Right.
skin, another person's born with darker skin. That's a civil rights
Right.
issue because we're just born as humans. But when they make it their sexual preference a civil rights issue, that's bizarre to me.
Oh, it is bizarre, but that's what they've done.
That's just, and you get a higher penalty for violence against a gay person than you do. Like if I get raped, the penalty for him is not nearly as severe as if I were a gay woman and I'm raped.
That's
So
correct.
then it's considered a hate crime, and you violated my civil liberties on top of it. I think it's horrible to do any violence to any person, and it should all have the same penalty.
Yeah,
All crime is a hate crime.
There should be a distinction between whether someone's sexual. Who cares? I mean,
yeah, that's what I say. I don't run around doing parades saying, "Hey, I like men."
Right.
I don't care that you,
that's it. That's the point. Who cares? Nobody cares what you're doing in the privacy of your own room. Nobody cares. It certainly.
And you don't have to make laws against it either, because the law is just strengthens sin. The more that you make things illegal, the more people desire them. So live and let live. But the key here is living in God's grace and letting him show them who they are in Christ, not enforcing laws, putting people to death because they're gay. That's ridiculous.
It is.
That's what Anderson wants to do. He wants to kill them all in the Old Testament. Well, you don't take Old Testament, descriptions and make them modern day prescriptions. And it's just wrong to do that. But none of it is fixed with more law. None of it is fixed with making things wrong.
Never.
But people just need Christ.
And let me ask you guys what you think of this. So Journey's Wake just said, okay, so he says the game equals government, academia, media, entertainment. How do you feel about that? Does that seem accurate to you? Government, academia, media, entertainment stands for the game. I'm saying
if I was loud. Somebody muted me. I didn't mean it. If I was loud, I apologize.
No, I didn't mute you. Not at all. I don't know what that was.
Jen did. I think I was my input volume was increased earlier.
Oh,
couldn't hear it, so I was being too loud. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Sorry,
Right,
guys.
but-
I'm screwing with buttons and nothing's working.
Oh, sorry, Jen.
I was
So what-
trying to turn
don't
down the
think-
volume.
Oh, no problem, Jen.
Right, I was thinking that Jen was just messing with a couple buttons and accidentally did that. So
Yeah, it was an accident, Renee. Nobody's trying to do anything.
Crips,
I
is
know
there
I
is
get
there a
loud.
way to adjust volumes on different people?
Yeah, who's too loud, Renee?
Huh?
Yeah, there is. Yep. On
Okay, because some people like Steve is really low when I'm trying to listen, and I was trying to like regulate.
Thanks, Jen.
I
Yeah.
can use my input volume.
Regulators.
Hold on. Jen, Matthias put it in the chat. I did see that. Appreciate you catching that for me too. Awesome. I raised him up a little bit. Steve, do a mic check for me. I think you're okay now.
Check, mic. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4.
He sounds okay. Thanks,
5,
Jen.
6, 7,
no,
8.
you can still go up higher with them.
Oh, go higher. Okay, there you go.
Sorry,
Yo,
Renee. I was
yo,
definitely
yo.
not trying to mute you.
Yeah, nobody's trying to put Renee in the corner over here. It's the first time
I'm
you've
still
been on
trying
the
to
show.
get used to Google Hangouts. I don't know how to work this.
Oh yeah. Well, I might try to adjust my input volume. Is it still too loud?
No,
No,
that
it's
sounds
actually
pretty good.
better.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think I was leaning forward into the mic,
Ah,
and now I've sat back.
Yeah. Okay, so weigh in on that. What I just said about Journey's Wake's comment is the game. So it's GAME equals government, academia, media, entertainment. It ties into everything that some of the things we've mentioned. So that's kind of the purpose of that. I mean, overall, it is a purpose. I mean, these things are planned, like the propaganda and the mind control, all the things, and they use entertainment, they use the media, they use education.
MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Joseph
that's fueling.
Stalin said it takes approximately 20 years to indoctrinate them slowly. You slowly introduce things by the media as acceptable. You promote, you don't do it drastically. And then they won't see that over a 20-year period, they've completely abandoned what they once stood for, and they'll begin to come over into a new way of thinking. That's how they introduce socialism, which turns into communism.
Oh, absolutely.
Also,
Absolutely.
Manly P. Hall said the same thing.
Yeah.
And, from the Freemasons.
Well, and that's what public school was. It came from Prussia, which is pre-Nazi.
The original public school system was created so children could learn to read the scriptures.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
true.
they tell us, but no, this public school system was made because people were, subjects to the state, and when they would go to war, they wouldn't, fight unto the death. When things got rough, they just put up the white flag or ran away. So,
Yeah.
in order to instill patriotism, that was why schooling was, and it was called schooling. That's the reason why it was started in the first place, and and it was adopted in America for that purpose, to instill the patriotism, the false patriotism that that these countries survive on. Which, I mean, it's we should be, I don't even like using the word proud, but our heritage is something to uplift. But patriotism is used as an idol. It's used as a way for people to buy wars and regulate population and instill fear, and that all comes from the enemy. So, the public school system has been from its inception.
It indoctrinates.
It's also part of the reason for the schooling, and why you have summers off. But the reason they had kids in desks in rows was to prepare them for working in factories.
I didn't know that.
To get them used to being in rows and staying in one place at the same time, and then you'd have the summers off to work the farm.
Yeah, same thing as the work side.
Jim wanted to tell you something. I don't know what he's going to say.
What's up, Jim?
That's the problem with our school system. Back then, when it was first adopted, they mostly made in those roads for factories, and everything was built for factories. But now, you can be anything you want if you put your heart to it. So teaching kids things like stuff that you don't really need to know, like biology and some forms of math, that will never help you in your life.
Yeah, he says he thinks it's weird that they don't teach kids how to get a mortgage or fill out bank papers or balance a checkbook or do like normal things in life.
I kind of agree with that.
I was like 20 years old when I came to that conclusion. Jim, you're the man.
95% of what you learn in school is forgotten in 3 days.
That's true. They're not trying to get people to learn anything. You just pass the test. You memorize what you need to pass the test.
Well, homeschooling, we really only takes about an hour to 2 hours if the child will actually sit down and do their work. If we're not fighting them to be responsible, then the actual workload is truly minimal. And I'll tell you, our children learn a lot more about reading, writing, and arithmetic than the public schools. Well, good point, Jim.
Yeah, school is killing curiosity. If you're curious about something, you'll do it yourself. You make your own experiment.
Yeah, he learns trigonometry. He studies space. He studies chemistry. He memorized the periodic table last summer for fun.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear the periodic table. Does he want to do it?
Remember, what's the number one element in the universe, Jim?
Most common?
Most common.
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen. Okay. He was making fun of people because they had done a campaign against dihydrogen
monoxide.
Right.
Because it's water.
That's water.
Dihydrogen H2 mono
H2O,
oxygen,
right.
one oxygen, and they had some environmentalists go out and say, yes, it's used in pesticides, it's used here, they even put it in our baby food. We should ban this in the country. And he was just like, people were signing stuff to ban water. They didn't even, if you make it sound good, like you guys were talking about the propaganda, if you make it sound good, you'll dive right in, not even investigating it.
Yeah, the propaganda is everywhere. I mean, they use television and in movies. I mean, it was worse than that back in the day. I mean, people think that America didn't do propaganda, but they did. They would just point out the propaganda of people that we were at war with.
Yeah. Tuck and roll, telling kids to get under the desk for a nuclear bomb.
Tuck and roll, yes, absolutely. Like a nuclear weapon, if it hit the school, would your desk would protect you from it. But, absolutely ridiculous.
Especially when it comes to like being healthy. That's where the propaganda and the media brainwashing, I think, is at its highest.
He's really upset about the food pyramid being completely backwards.
It's just for profit.
Oh, actually, he is right about that. We talked about that in my nutrition class in college because we had a really, really good professor there.
If you really want to be healthy, just eat fruits. I mean, there is no perfect diet. It's just as long as you are not dangerously overweight, as long as you're happy with yourself, you're good.
He was saying the foundation shouldn't be breads and pastas and starches.
Yeah, I got you.
Fat food, because fat food is actually good.
You want unless you have like diabetes or something like that, where you have to really watch your sugars, and you need to watch that with fruits and things, especially citrusy fruits. But you basically, the best diet is water and single ingredient food. So the food itself is the ingredient. So you might a little bit of salt and pepper on something. Yes, bacon. But vegetables, fruits, and meats. Avoid starches.
Simple.
So basically meats and vegetables.
Yep, that's exactly.
And you really should do the Daniel fast once a year, which is 21 days of nothing but veggies and water.
Yep.
What you guys are talking about is what's been happening for the past several decades. We don't have the same type of bread that used to be around. The Bible talks about bread being a very good thing.
Okay.
That wasn't light white flour.
Yeah,
the bleach stuff, right? I mean, the stuff that they have now only has 2 chromosomes in it.
Yep.
Where original wheat had 6 to 8 chromosomes in it.
Wow.
Now, Matthias, here's the thing. Now, Glenn has a point that he will be delighted to make because he's again he's here in the States.
I'd love to hear that.
Hold on, Glenn. One of the first things you mentioned to me when I saw you and about the bread here in America.
The bread is sweet.
Yeah,
it's sweet. It's horrible.
Yep, it's got sugar.
I can't eat it.
Yep,
especially the Hawaiian bread. Have you had that? So soft.
No, just even the wholemeal, whole grain bread. And this morning at Jen's place, I thought, what's in this? Sweetened with fruit juice.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. But you're right. If you buy wheat bread and oat bread, it's supposed to be healthy. It is sweet.
There's this.
Yeah, I get it from a bakery.
My wife makes some bread with not a grain of sugar in it.
Yep.
So I'll have to send you some, Glenn.
Yeah, hear that? He'll send you some bread.
Yeah.
Almond flour and flaxseed to make my own now.
There's a called If Commercials Were Honest, and it really shows what they really put into foods, especially with the chip. They even dye fruits to make them look better.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Fruits, which which one? Am I the only one that has cantaloupe as their favorite food?
He loves fruit.
You're the only one.
He loves fruit.
You're the only one, buddy.
He can talk about anything.
That's okay.
Anything y'all are talking about, he'll have something to say about it.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so talk about
That's
fast
awesome.
food.
Well, oh man.
Oh
no,
my gosh.
Oh wait, one point I want to make about the grains here.
Go ahead, buddy.
That you go back to Genesis, and you know why did Israel go into Egypt in the first place? Because of the famine
Yeah.
that Joseph said was
right.
going to happen 7 years.
So
And think about when Joseph's already there, and they've already gone and talked to Joseph once. He sent him back, and Israel tells him to go back, and he tells him to bring all these different fruits and nuts and all these things because they needed the grain. They were going to go with money. They had all the other types of fruits and vegetables and the things. I mean, it specifically says quite a few different things.
Yeah.
But it was going to get that grain.
Yeah.
That was vital. And
Yeah, they have a Ezekiel type bread. You know what I'm talking about?
That's supposedly the only type of bread, or einkorn too. Einkorn is what I was thinking about.
It's dense. It's really dense.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because like what I was saying, it's not even a fraction, molecularly speaking, of what it used to be.
That's
And
crazy.
this attack has been going on wheat for centuries, if not eons, a couple thousand years.
From it all. I'm on the keto diet, high fat with lots of veggies, no grains, very little fruit, no pastas, none of it. And I'm detoxing, so I'm sluggish a little bit, but I'll come out of it soon. But it just shows you right there, just a couple of days of eating. I eat bacon, I eat fish and chicken and
that Atkins
broccoli. It's just a ketosis diet.
Same basic concept.
And no flour, none of that. No, I can have like heavy whipping cream, but not dairy. I can have plenty of cheeses and stuff like that. So the high fat, high protein, high vegetable diet, low carb, no sugar. That it goes to show you it's just been a couple of days and I'm feeling sluggish and I'm purging it. Yeah. But it says after you come out of it, you start to feel better. My body's getting rid of the garbage that's in me.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, we carry all kinds of from all the processed foods, and how many of those foods too you get handed to you through a window.
And I was bad. I used to buy a lot of frozen dinners and stuff I could throw in the microwave. I don't do that now because I was like, oh my gosh,
it's convenience.
So much processed stuff. So now I'm trying to cook at the beginning of the week and the middle of the week for all the week.
Of course. So you have two things there. What you're saying, and also it's about convenience. They want to make everything convenient, and they started that on TV by the microwave oven. Do this and that.
Fast food, man. When you look at the content of the junk in the fast food, and look, I was saying the other night, it's expensive to eat right. I spent like way more money buying fresh stuff this week. When you can go to McDonald's for $5 and feed both of us.
That's what it is. So it's cheaper to kill yourself. And listen, I did this is a little bit personal for me. I'm happy to share it though. When I turned my parents were very restrictive on our diet because they were afraid. They had their own issues about food and weight and things like that from their generation. And then I was growing up, I had no weight problem at all. Growing up perfectly fine. But my mother was so concerned about it that she restricted my diet. I mean, to the point of ridiculousness in some ways. So as soon as I got turned 17, I went to fast food places, and over many years, took a long time, but I ate a lot of fast food, and it was horrible. And I carried weight around. And now I've turned it around, and I'm on the headed in the right direction. But I shudder to think at how I damaged my body and my health and carried that stuff around, the weight that's caused by that for so long. It's unbelievable. And now, I mean, my whole take on everything's different, but It's a horrible thing, and it's an epidemic in America. Absolutely an epidemic. Glenn, tell people about the Miami airport.
But the supersize documentary, the guy ate it for 30 days straight. And did you see the health consequences? Not to mention the weight he gained, but the health consequences.
Oh yeah, his blood pressure went up. Yeah, I remember watching that. Yeah, he ate it every meal though too. I mean, yeah,
but that's amazing. In one, what that did. What's up, Glenn?
Glenn, tell everybody about your coming into the Miami airport.
Well, if you've come from the Middle East, say you've been to Doha or Dubai or Abu Dhabi, or there's another one too, can't remember it. It's like coming to about 50 years ago. The US is very much behind the rest of the world in a lot of stuff that they probably don't realize. But
name a couple things, Glenn. What from your perspective? Again, so you're from Australia, so coming to America, a couple things. I mean, you've talked about some of these things. What?
The biggest one's the food. The food's way better in Australia, much fresher.
Yeah.
Just not so processed, not so sweet. It's just there's a real big health kick in Australia to eat healthy, which is low sugar, because sugar's what makes you fat, all that stuff. Healthy eating. There's a very big anti-obesity campaign for schools. They're trying to put a sugar tax actually on what do you call them, pop or soda, or we call them soft drinks, but things like Coke or
pop,
stuff like that.
My part of the country, we used to, growing up in Michigan, they say pop up there. Here, they don't know what pop is. They call everything the same thing. It's Coke. Everything's a Coke, even if it's a Sprite or a Dr. Pepper. It's all Coke.
Okay. Well, the food's the number one. I think just generally what I've seen, number two is probably your infrastructure. It just feels dated. Your roads look dated. They're worn, whereas you go to many other countries, Europe, even at home, I honestly think we're just a long way ahead.
Yeah, and
we were not. That was not always the case. That was not always the case. I think that if you went back 20 years, the general feeling was that Australia was way behind the US, and we were always just getting we were aspiring to be like the US, but now it's turned around. We don't aspire to be like the US. It's a whole different turnaround.
Don't you guys walk more out there? Like, America is just so sedentary. Everybody, it's eat fat, eat bad, and lay around. Everything's complete.
I don't think it's walk more. I think it's eat less.
It's just a bad combination.
Like the portions you go into a diner in the US is absolutely mind blowing.
It's a big difference from Australia.
How could you eat that much food in one sitting? Honestly, it's just horrific.
It's crazy. You're right.
I can tell you what happened to me. So up until 17, I was a thin guy. I was very healthy. I played sports all the time, no problem. And I started eating food through a window. I mean, again, it took some time. It wasn't just that. And I felt started to feel sluggish. And of course, you put weight on, it's affected my whole life. And it's actually been one of the things that I've really struggled with for a long time. And finally, I have been set free of that. And it just takes time to get the weight off. But thankfully, my whole self-esteem, everything that I've struggled with in that area has started to change. And I'm starting to have more confidence in myself and things like that, feeling less lethargic, being able to just hop right up out of a chair, no problem. I also had back problems because of carrying the weight around for so long. Now I hardly ever have any back problems either. Generally sleep better. And there's so many benefits by making better choices. And it is a choice. You choose to walk more, to park further away. If you go to the store, you park your car further away and walk in the store. I mean, you can make better choices. Instead of taking an elevator, you take the stairs. There's so many things you can do to choose a healthier lifestyle. And I got to tell you, I'm happier now than I've ever been, because I carried it around, and a lot of it was emotional for me. It was a protection. It protected me, in my own mind. And once delivered of that, I look back and if I was going to spend time in kind of self-pity, about all the years that I wasted making those horrible choices. But I don't spend time there. I'm just glad to be making better choices. And anyone can do that if they want to. You don't have to do it fast. It doesn't have to be a diet. For me, it's a lifestyle change. If I want a meal that's a little fatty, if I want to have pizza, I have pizza. I just don't eat it every day. You can have foods that you like occasionally that are maybe not as good for you if you want. But
again, if you forbid yourself, it strengthens the need for them.
There you go. Because
and to answer Glenn's question, open mouth, insert food, chew, swallow, repeat. That's
what was his
how
question?
You eat those large portions.
Yeah, that's funny. But he's right, man. If you go to like a Waffle House breakfast, you got a stack of 3 pancakes. You got a chicken fried steak with gravy and grits and toast and eggs and bacon. And so it's crazy amounts of food here. But you know what my Japanese guy, when I was in college, this Japanese guy, he owned a sushi bar and I used to waitress there. And he said, Renee, you want to lose weight? It's lots of chew. You have to chew a lot. You have to make lots of chew.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Really, I think
that is actually true, though.
I know.
Diet
chewing when you chew slow, and you chew so many times every bite, it takes you longer to eat the food, and it gives your stomach the time it needs to realize you're actually full.
Exactly,
and
but
most of the time
we scarf it down so fast, and then we're like sick after because we've overfilled our bellies.
Well, also
plus the chewing helps with digestion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
But you're right. We should be taking a bite, setting the fork down, taking a sip of water, giving the body time, and we don't.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
you're always in a hurry.
I've been able to do it by just making better choices every day. It is a lifestyle rather than a diet.
That's exactly right.
I've done diets before and I have been successful on a diet, but then what happens is as soon as I quit the diet, I go back to eating like I did before. And of course, you know what's going to happen.
Yep. Gain it all back. I did the same thing and I gained more than I lost.
That's it. That's what happened. And that's how I got as big as I was.
Your metabolism I was 118 pounds most of my life.
Oh, don't me start on metabolism.
I'm 80 pounds overweight. I had my son and then I was stuck in a wheelchair. I never got my weight off.
Yeah.
And I found that like doing a Nutrisystem and all that, none of that works because as soon as you stop it, like you said, you go right back. That's why I'm doing this long term and making a healthy, better choices, prepare more. The problem is I'm lazy. I don't want to have to prep the food and cut it and cook it and bake it and, do all it's work. But to me now I've made it a priority and that's the long-term goal is to change the lifestyle.
Yep.
Here's another interesting thing with
you should really look into intermediate fasting.
That's what I do, Matthias. I thought we talked about that once. That's what I do. I like there's long periods of time between meals.
Right. Well, I was actually referring to Renee.
Sorry.
Like one day.
Go ahead, Matthias. Sorry.
No. Intermediate fasting would be more like not eating till dinner.
Right.
Right. I see what you're saying. Taking longer time between.
Yeah.
It's you have an 8-hour period of where you eat, so you can eat during that as much as you can during that 8-hour period, and then you take off 16 hours.
Yep. It works.
Then you eat 8 hours.
Okay. Well, you hear them tell you eat frequently and graze all day long, every 3 hours to keep your metabolism.
That's how you keep weight on.
Yeah, that's now the keto diet thing or the keto lifestyle that I'm trying, it actually says the opposite.
Yeah.
Because break fast, breakfast is you breaking the fast, and you shouldn't be snacking all day. Give your body time to go into ketosis and use its fuel to burn the fat as fuel instead of constantly feeding the body. It's going to use that as fuel instead of your body fat.
And that's sort of right, but try to a good way is just, eating from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. If it's before 2 p.m., don't eat yet. You can eat right at 2, and where if you feel hungry again, or if you want to, eat right at 10, that's fine too. But just
So
eat
like,
between 2 and 10.
so you're saying like stretch out the fast of you sleeping and not eating a little bit longer.
Correct.
Don't eat, or so that fasting period.
The break fast is not good.
Okay.
No.
All right. I didn't know that. I'll try it.
Yeah.
Right. It'll not just weight, but your body
Overall
will
health.
use. Right.
I want to feel better, dude. I want the weight off to help my pain. I have too much pain already.
It will, Renee. It will. It will. I mean,
And emotionally, dude, I'm sluggish. I'm depressed.
yep.
I've been hospitalized for chemical depression. I have to, and I'm realizing what I'm eating is really affecting my mood.
You are what you eat. That's not just a silly thing.
I'm
kids
starting to
say.
realize that.
Yeah, and the thing people need to understand too is when you make better choices, what happens is your fat cells actually shrink. You are capable of being thinner. It's not impossible. People make it seem like you got to join this or join that or follow this diet. I mean, I've been on at least maybe 5 or 6 different diets. Renee, you mentioned Nutrisystem. I tried Nutrisystem. I did Weight Watchers. I did a quick weight loss clinic, which we actually paid money for to eat Melbo toast and
I did that too,
cabbage soup and stuff. I did lose weight because it was restrictive. But again, when you're done with the diet and you're all excited about the weight you lose, then you go back to eating regular food and you just gain it all right back because it's not a lifestyle. Nobody should be on a diet. You should be changing the way that you live. And
I found to motivate myself to make it more about how I'm going to feel that day.
Sure.
To, I do want the long-term weight loss, but I have to remember I'm doing this so I feel good, so that my energy levels up, so I can accomplish more. Because I'm telling you, the way I'm eating is affecting and then I'm smoking. I need to quit that because it all feeds each other. Like the bad habits all feed each other. And
say that one more time, Renee.
The bad habits feed each other.
That's right.
It's really hard to stop. And I really just need my goal to be today. I want to feel better. I want to accomplish more. And then if I get enough of those days back to back to back, I will see the weight come off.
Right. Yeah. And if someone's in a wheelchair too, hold on one second, Steve. If someone's in a wheelchair or they're incapacitated in some way, there are so many exercises that people could do from a seated position. I mean, you just
swim. I can swim.
Yeah, swim. There you go.
I'm starting to walk again, so I can walk now. I just walk.
Wonderful. That's wonderful, Renee. I'm so happy for you. I just want to encourage you. You can do it. I mean, certainly, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because it was a long time for me that I did that, and it's just a completely different world to me. It really is.
That's so awesome, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I praise God that I'm in that position, and I just want to encourage people. I think when I'm finally done, I've even thought about not doing some kind of motivational program or something, but reaching out to people and just. I mean, everything that we do is a testimony if we're willing to tell other people about it.
I quit all my anti-anxiety meds. I quit all my sleep meds. I quit all my depression meds. And I kept praying to God. I was like, this is hurting me. Like, I'm having anxiety. I'm not sleeping because, I got pain anyway. It's hard to sleep.
Yeah.
The anxiety and stuff. And it's like, I don't want to just keep putting more drugs in me. It's not fixing it. But this is what is happening to change how I'm eating. And I know it's going to lead to getting rid of the other bad habits.
Amen. I'm so glad that you're getting rid of your medications too, because I mean that's a whole nother show we could do on that.
Yeah, I'm off of them. I don't encourage anybody to stop them cold turkey. I spent a lot of time in prayer about it, and I felt like I was okay with being just okay. I was numb to the world. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't relax with it coming out of my skin without Ativan. And I would forget things like the Ativan. I would forget. I went and got a tire with my sister and forgot that I had seen her. Like this was bad. And So it scared me, and I really spent a lot of time in prayer in it, and I quit the depression meds, and it's got severe withdrawal. You're dizzy, you're walking sideways, you feel like you got rocks in your head. But somehow this time the withdrawal was tolerable. It actually was tolerable, and I'm off of it. But I don't tell anybody to do that because God doesn't want you on medicine. Some people need temporary help when they're in severe mental illness, and I would never do that because like John MacArthur had some people kill themselves because he forced them off of their psych meds.
Oh yeah. See, the thing is, you get addicted.
Wow.
You get addicted to those things. So if you quit cold turkey, it causes all kinds of problems.
It was bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally felt like there were rocks rattling around, and I would like stumble sideways into walls when I was coming off of them.
Yeah, my dad was he smoked cigarettes, and he went on one of these medications to quit smoking, and he was having literal suicidal ideation. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, do we even really know what they're putting in some of these drugs?
They don't even know how they work.
No. Steve, go ahead. You were going to say something if it's not too late.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Actually, with what y'all were talking about with the whole, with the weight loss and things, and how Renee, you're saying you get through this point of sluggishness. Part of the reason that there is the sluggishness, and the fact that you'll have cravings, of course, for the stuff that you used to eat and are trying to change to a different lifestyle of food choice, like Jason's been saying. But Brenda has been dropping bombs on this in the chat about the probiotics and stuff like that, where your body becomes accustomed to, like you said, the bad habits feed the bad habits. Well, when we eat the high sugar and things like that, it changes what you have in your digestive system and ends up creating, instead of good probiotics, it creates bad.
That's
that
right.
become addicted to the sugars, and those bad flora in your digestive tract actually cause you to crave sugars.
Wow.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
Because of the fact that and by doing what you're doing, you're changing that. And that they do suggest, whoever they are, to actually
whoever they are.
eat foods that will, it's better to eat foods than to take a pill or something like that, but that would be high in natural good probiotics and digestive digestive enzymes.
A viewer of mine sent me a bottle of the probiotics, and it really did make me feel better.
Yeah,
okay, so
what that
on that
does
one,
is you're replacing
do you have raw
bad
milk?
with the good.
Raw milk.
If you can get raw milk in your area, if it's legal, that's the best form of putting beneficial bacteria into your system.
Oh, because they take it out with the pasteurization.
They sure do.
They kill it. It's dead.
Why do they do that?
Because of how beneficial that beneficial bacteria is, and that the AMA couldn't make drugs harsh enough but subtle at the same time that the probiotics and the natural probiotics from the milk.
So now we need all this.
What does it taste like?
Killing the probiotics.
Brenda wants to know what it tastes like. What does raw milk taste like, Matthias? I've never had raw milk. Oh, wait a minute, I have. I was on a farm once and had. Never mind. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's I mean, it back in the old days when they had milkmen, the company or the farmers that had the most cream on the top were the ones who got the most customers. And it was very thick, full, and they could even take the cream and make cheeses and different things from it, butters and stuff. But I have to buy it as pet milk here in Florida, and it's like
When
it is double the cost of a gallon of pasteurized. Like they do a lot more to that pasteurized and homogenized milk and send it all over the country, but yet it costs twice as much.
You ever had goat's cheese?
Yeah. I'm not a cheese connoisseur, but my daughters and wife would say they love the goat cheese.
Jenny,
There's a meal my wife makes that has it in it that I actually really like.
I just don't understand why was their idea to pasteurize it anyway? To kill bacteria? To keep
Like that's what I'm saying. It's Satan's out to kill, steal, and destroy, and they made it to the facade was to kill the bad bacteria, but they never told people about the good bacteria.
Oh, I see.
The good bacteria, most people don't even realize that their bodies have more bacteria in that. You have more bacteria in your body than you do cells.
We don't need to fix what's natural that God made.
Yeah,
I don't think we need
your
to.
digestive system is just that,
Yeah.
just bacteria.
Right. Well, the majority of our bodies are bacteria, and it's about keeping that system in check in order to keep good health. And so they've known that for hundreds of years. So it's got to be a systematic attack to keep people sick.
That's crazy, man.
And to
true though.
Right. No, it's very true.
I mean, these people live just fine all those years, and I'm thinking people need antibiotics constantly now. Back then, they didn't even have them. But like you said, they had milk with the bacteria in it. They had all this natural stuff. They got because I think the whole creation has fallen with us. So the foods aren't as good. The soil's not good,
They're not.
Well, they've been doing it on purpose because see, we have to shake our milk. I know people shake their milk because it's like what everybody used to do, but you buy store-bought milk, you can get by without shaking it because the molecular structure of it has completely changed.
It's almost water.
That change of molecular structure has been really messing with people's bodies, and that's why we have all these lactose intolerant. If somebody's lactose intolerant, they can drink raw milk most likely and be just fine.
Wow.
Yeah, the other thing too is they have whole milk, right? And then they have 2% and down from there in skim milk. So what they do though, in order to make it taste good, is they take all the fat out of it and then they put sweetener in it.
Yep, that's got to be it. You're right about that. So it's got more. That's why you can't eat that. You can't have. See, I can have heavy whipping cream, like mixed things, but I can't have milk.
Yeah, heavy
sugar.
Check some raw, or check your local raw food place. I doubt you'll find it at Whole Foods, but I'm sure there's a local, health store.
That's amazing.
Or try to find a farmer, because
or a pet store.
If you give raw milk to your animals, I don't know how or why. I just know it's true from practice. That even your outdoor animals will not have fleas.
Really?
I'm telling you, it's if you have kittens and they have that eye crud, that eye infection that kittens usually get, you give them raw milk, within 12 hours it's cleared up.
If you give animals or kittens regular milk, it makes them sick. Their stomach
give them raw milk and it's beneficial.
We gave our kitties regular milk all the time. I didn't ever know anything about any of that, growing up. Wow. Absolutely not.
It's so scary.
We're ignorant, really. I mean, a lot of people just have no idea what they're doing to us. I mean, overall.
Well, we watched that video, Pharmakia.
Yes.
And it's.
I'm gonna watch that. I haven't watched it.
Oh, it's
It,
it's good. I strongly suggest it. I mean, and it's right on too with some of it. I don't agree with all of it, but most of it's pretty right on. Yep.
Okay, I'll look at that.
it's
It's almost
definitely
midnight. My
spiritual.
boys got school in the morning.
Oh, sure, Renee. Yeah, yeah. We're just having fun tonight, and I just looked at the clock and realized it was almost midnight. So before you go, next Sunday, Glenn will be on his cruise, so he won't be here. So Renee, if you have time next Sunday and would like to join us for another open topic, you're more than welcome. Just let me know, please.
That'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I definitely appreciate you being on the show for us tonight.
It's so good to see all you guys.
Good to see you. You actually look good, Renee, to me.
Oh, thank you. I'm feeling much better. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Paula
love you
said,
guys.
"Hey, Paula
Good
said you look,
night.
Renee.
care.
Paula
Hold on, Renee.
said you look very pretty today."
Yep,
Oh,
you sure
thank
do.
Paula. Thank
Yep.
you, sweetheart. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.
Good night, Renee.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, Chico.
Chico.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah.
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra. All right. Yes. So for next week, we won't have Glenn with us, unfortunately, but we're going to do an open topic again next week. So those of you in the chat room, definitely think about more topics that you want. This is actually good because you guys participated and we got some things going, and we almost filled 3 hours with stuff. Got a little distracted there in the middle with the whole errand thing. I don't know. I guess it just seems kind of ridiculous if people have already been through it. I forgot who he was, so a lot of that's my fault because I mean you guys have already dealt with those issues. I mean he wasn't stirring up anything himself. He was just but we already know kind of what the stance is, and I didn't realize who he was. So anyway, other than that, people in the chat room brought up some really good stuff. I really enjoyed talking about the diet stuff, and some of that stuff I didn't know. I did have raw milk because we lived close to a farm, and these Dutch people had a actual bakery there and a dairy farm. So we would have fresh like pastries and stuff. I know that's not good for you, but when I was a kid, it's like, dude, it's pastries and milk. So I was like, that's awesome. All right. Well, it's about almost midnight, so I think we've gone on long enough. So unless anyone else has anything they want to say before we close it down, any other things you want to add to finish up this topic?
Well, I just want to say that the Bible talks pretty predominantly and pretty positively about milk and bread.
Yeah.
And even honey. So I think there's probably an attack on honey that I haven't even researched yet.
Get to it, Matthias. What are you dragging your feet for?
Right. Well, with the milk and the bread, and then also the water.
Yeah.
The water is something that God has talks about and uses examples. Often even talking about the living water, and Satan has been attacking our drinking water for decades, and so it's funny that all these different things that the Bible promotes seems like the world attacks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because as you said, Satan's main thing is to kill, steal, and destroy. Did I say it right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to thank
did.
everyone. Yeah, thanks. I want to thank everyone for being on the panel tonight. Glenn, you want to say goodnight to everybody, and then Jen?
Good night, all. And I'll speak to you in, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Of course, I'll talk to you tomorrow, but thanks for being on the show.
Look forward to it, JC. Look forward to it.
We're going to have a good day.
Right.
Thanks again. And
Thank
Glenn, if you hang around until after I end the broadcast, that's fine. But thanks for being here. Jen, we didn't hear a whole lot from you.
Yeah, sorry guys.
No, it's okay.
I have a really bad, like not a bad headache, but it's just enough to be annoying.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
that's why I was trying to turn down Renee, and I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to mute her. I don't know how this thing works.
Oh, please. No,
And I don't even know. Yeah, anyway, so I
it's no
did not
problem.
mean that against her personally.
No, she knows
But yeah,
that.
so I've just been listening and trying to deal with that.
No.
But good night, guys. It's so good to be here still.
Oh, thanks, Shen. Steve,
Yo. Good
say
night,
goodnight to the
chat
wonderful chat room.
room. Good night, panel people. Bacon.
Bacon. That's good. What else
Bacon.
needs to be said?
And that nothing in nature food wise is pure white.
Ooh.
Anything that you see that is pure white and you're eating it, it is not real food. It's not
You headed me
good
off the
food
pass. You headed me off the pass
because
by
it's
saying
been bleached.
I was going to say, well,
It's
what
been
about cotton,
bleached.
Steve?
Yeah, don't eat it.
Yeah, don't eat
Yeah,
it.
You shouldn't eat it. So like
those bleached coconuts will
salt,
get you.
sugar, coconut,
Coconut.
anything.
No, coconut is white.
Coconut's like brown.
No,
No, coconut's white.
Coconut's white.
Yeah.
Is
And there are
it?
some not
I've
so
seen
shell's
white.
brownish coconut.
Well, that's the shell, but when you crack, when you crack one open, the
Have you
inside
never?
certainly white.
Yeah,
Okay.
Matthias is correct. Have you never had a real raw coconut, Steve?
No.
Okay.
But okay, so most things in nature are not pure white.
No, your
Okay,
point.
so you
Your
got
point is still good.
sugar, salt, you got flour, you got cauliflower. Um, you know, cauliflower should not be white. White. It should be not like pure bleach white. It should be like off white.
Yeah.
And I know Matthias knows a lot more about like the seeds and all this stuff. But like most of the
He's a seed
food you
expert.
buy at the grocery store
Yeah.
is not actually what you think it is.
Oh no, they've messed up everything.
Yeah, like veggies and all that. Green beans aren't actually the green beans you think are what green beans are supposed to look like. Carrots, corn, and everything's been modified, so it's not even really the original
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
So half the time, even if you think you're trying to eat healthy, you're not.
Yeah. The other thing is too, the point can really be made if you have eggs from the store, right? Okay, talk about something processed, or someone that has a farm and you get eggs from the farm.
There's
That is
another white.
that is the most difference I've ever tasted in foods. The way that real eggs from the farm that don't go through
Brown
anything.
eggs.
Yes, they're delicious.
Yep.
If you can get a hold of those, you'll never buy eggs from a store again. If you
They
buy,
last longer, they're better,
yep,
and they're not white.
it's crazy.
Even the shell has been like bleached somehow.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, no,
Yeah.
Don't make sense.
They bleach. They actually do bleach the shell as a form of supposedly cleaning them, but the egg is a semi-permeable membrane, and
Yep.
so the bleaching of the eggs does leach into the body of it. And yes, but that goes back to Satan does to kill, steal, and destroy, and it's all just ways to bring the lifespan. See, I think that the Bible teaches that since the flood, they were going to go from about 1,000-year lifespan down to 120 years in a short amount of time. And I think 120 years is where God has given the natural life cycle to be at. But Satan has lied to us. He actually has the world fooled from his own story rather than true history.
Yeah.
But he has people thinking that, thousands of years ago, they only lived to like 30 or 40. And because of modern medicine and because we've been able to come up with genetically modified foods and different things, we're able to live longer and have people prosper better. But I think it's backwards. I think Satan has made it to where people live shorter and prosper less. And he's doing it with the attack on the things that we need most: water, air, food.
Before we shut it down, Natalie just asked a question that I thought about asking earlier because I kind of, well, I won't give my answer yet. So Natalie asked, do you guys think anything is actually organic, or do they inject a double dose of poison since we want to be healthy? I don't know about the poison part, but I'm skeptical as to whether organic is truly organic. The only way you know if food is organic is if you know where the seeds came from, or you planted them yourself and you did it on your own farm and no one else put anything on them. Would you agree or not agree with us?
Well, it depends on the product. I mean, certain things, if we're talking about produce, if they're organic, you can grow from the sprouts. And so, if they have the Terminator gene, if they're genetically modified, you're not going to get potatoes from uh, from a from a batch of potatoes.
Right.
So you can tell certain things are organic just by the how it reacts, how it sort of the life cycle of it.
Yeah. So
Um,
Autumn in the chat room says, if the seeds are GMO, how can the food be organic?
Right. If you have GMO seeds, you don't have organic food. That's
That's
for
right.
sure.
So you have to know where the seeds come from, or know that who.
Oh, or if you buy organic potatoes and you left some in your cupboard and they started sprouting, you could know then that you have organic potatoes. You don't have to know that the seed was organic. You would know that genetically modified potatoes don't do that. You
Okay.
get what I'm saying? Like you can get some evidences places.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but you learn how to look for those, or I mean, would you have to test the food everywhere you went in order
Well,
to do
no, well, I mean, it's not everything, but like if you cut garlic and use some garlic and leave it, it'll grow more if it's organic.
Oh, I got you. I got you. And so can we trust the organic label though in a store? That's the Autumn asked that.
Oh, I don't know. No, we can't trust it like we can the Bible.
Oh no.
Um,
No.
there's you can taste it, sort of like what Glenn was talking about. Like I'm pretty sure they don't eat genetically modified foods
No.
in Australia. They eat pretty much the natural thing, and that's when people lived longer. When they were eating the foods, they were eating, bacon and fried foods, but they were also eating. It was also the pigs that they got from their own farm and chickens, and they were eating the natural foods. So that's why they lived longer. They
Yeah.
didn't have the fluoridated water, and there were no attacks in the air.
No, that's right. Yeah, we didn't have
And
them, for sure.
biblically, the seed is in itself. So any food that can't reproduce itself is not is a GMO. So the seed should be in itself, kind of like what you were saying. The potato should sprout. If you're
Yeah.
getting oranges or grapes, seedless grapes aren't reproducible, so you'd want to get the seeded grapes. You'd want,
Are you trying to
the
imply?
seeded oranges.
Are you trying to imply that if you have grapes without seeds, they're GMO grapes?
Pretty much.
I don't
Do they
know.
reproduce themselves?
I don't know. I've never tried to reproduce a grape. I just put them in my mouth. Boom.
Right. Or did they genetically modify the grape, vine to where it will produce, but it can't reproduce itself?
I really don't know the answer to that, honestly.
Because
Until you mentioned it.
biblically, what God created us for us was every tree and fruit bearing thing to reproduce after itself with the seed within itself.
I get that, but it's a vine, right? I mean,
It's still
I'm just maybe
still
I'm ignorant.
food.
I never thought about. I mean, I know there are grapes that have seeds in it, but
right,
there are grapes that don't have seeds in it.
right.
It seems like it just comes off.
And which ones taste better?
I don't remember trying seeds in it. No, I'm being serious. I love grapes. I
No,
love.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just using biblical example to show that every fruit and food-bearing tree of any kind is supposed to reproduce after itself, according to the Bible.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. Like if it don't have its own way of reproducing itself, like you go to the store, if you bought grapes, you should be able to take them grapes and take some of them and plant them with the seed in itself
Yeah.
and grow more grapes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google that one and see what comes up.
Well,
But
you don't want to use Google because Google is 666.
oh, Steve, you
Google
never
is
disappoint.
Satan's Google is Satan's search engine. Okay.
Yes. Oh,
And
Steve.
Google just married CERN,
Yeah, and do we
another
know where CERN's been?
playground of Satan.
Where's CERN been, Steve? We don't know.
CERN's been trying to open portals to the underworld.
Yeah, and when it happens, they're going to think they're the ones that did it. That it's impossible to open it. And God will allow it to happen.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. But they're going to think they're big and bad.
What about grapefruit? Cupcake Puppy says, "What about grapefruit? That's a hybrid. Is that evil?"
I don't know. Does
No,
it have
either.
seeds?
I've never heard that grapefruit's a hybrid.
Maybe they have hybrid grapefruit.
Well, there were hybrids in the Bible. Like
Yeah.
there were donkeys in the Bible, and think about what Jacob did when he was separating the cattle and everything.
Yeah.
From Leah and Rachel's dad, Lamech. I'm not sure his name, but
all right. So, Matthias, you want to say goodbye to everyone in the chat room, and then I'll finish everybody off. I think everyone had a chance.
Yeah, and I want to correct myself. It was Laban. That was.
Laban for Laban, yeah.
Laban.
Yeah, Laban.
But I just want to say I enjoyed the chat, the fellowship.
Yeah,
it was awesome having Renee and Luke join, and Jen, I wish you would have been able to share more. And
yeah,
Glenn, it was good hearing your point of view. Glenn, I hope you have a good trip. I'll be praying for you that it's safe, and look forward to when you come back. And I hope America doesn't give you too much of a realization of just how do you put it, crappy? Just
how do you put it, Glenn?
I hope we don't fill that void too terribly well.
He'll answer, Glenn. How do you put it?
What was the real question?
What was the real question, Matthias?
Oh, it wasn't a question. Oh, it was like how do you put it? It's just when you were saying about the bread, it's just crap.
Crap.
Yeah, crap.
So I hope that we don't live up to those standards that I'm sure we already are with our bread. So
yeah.
Well, I think don't get me wrong. I mean, the US and Australia are great friends, but there's just some things here that I think could be improved. That's for sure.
Yeah, you could do a whole hour show about booking a flight.
Glenn for president.
In other.
Beg your pardon, Steve. Steve said something.
He said Glenn
for president.
No, we don't have a president.
No, he wants you to be president here.
Oh.
Which you can't be because
I can't even contemplate first base of the US political system.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
No, that's a bit brain defying, that one.
No doubt. All right. I want to say goodnight to everyone in the chat room. Guys, you guys were on fire tonight. Lots of good conversations, some suggestions for us to do. Again, we are going to do open topic again next week because we honestly, everyone on this panel is so integral to make TSL what it is. And but we're not going to have Glenn. So we're not going to try to do any of the more weighty topics or the questions and stuff like that. So 2 weeks in a row, we're going to have this open topic thing, and I think it worked out okay. We had a little glitch right there in the middle, went on a little bit too long, so I apologize for that. But I always want to let people say what they want to say, and you know, have a conversation and see where it goes. And you know, I just wanted to be light tonight. I'm in one of those kind of moods. You know, life is awesome, really is. So. Thank you for all your participation. Definitely tune in with us next week. And hate that Glenn's not going to be here, but he'll be on a cruise enjoying himself. He and Sandra. So we wish them well. Hope everything's good.
A cruise. Eating that wholesome American food.
Maybe it's better on a cruise, Glenn. You'll have
It
to
ain't.
let us know. It's not.
No, it's actually it's pretty good. Actually, it's well, anything that I don't have to cook is pretty good.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Kay Stover. Kay Stover said the True Story Live, no glitch, just evangelism. Yeah, I have no problem with evangelism. No problem whatsoever. It's when people get all riled up, you know, there's no reason to, you know, get all riled up at people, I don't think. This show has actually been, you know, people don't really do that on the show most of the time. We've had a couple call-ins when we were over at Blog Talk that got a little unruly, but we're pretty good over here. And we couldn't do it without you guys who keep coming back every week in the chat room. So again, thank you. That's it, guys. We're done. Did a little bit over 3 hours tonight, so it was fun. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much for being here. We will definitely see you guys next Sunday night at 9 o'clock. And maybe we'll talk about Thanksgiving and Christmas and how much food and weight people will pack on during the holidays. Yeah, a little something to look forward to. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Again, panel, thank you guys for being here. Love you guys. And chat room, we will talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us on TSL tonight. Good night and take care.